Joel D. Smith, who is inside the farm show. Joel D.
Inside here, but I tell you what, you cannot find a place to sit because the entire place is packed. That is more than 8,500 strong. They were here in the early morning hours waiting to get in and get a great seat, and a lot of them did. The music you're hearing right now in the background, potentially, it is memory from Cats. And a lot of these people have memories of the first Trump administration. And just like, you know, Broadway will bring back a reprisal if they want to see a second run of this again. Take a look around. How many people are here? They're on their feet now because they know that the president could be here any second, as we heard that he just landed. So what do these people want to hear? Some said they want to hear about immigration, economy. One woman spoke earlier about inflation, how it's impacted her family so much she can't even take her kids to soccer because it just costs too much for gas. A lot of people here said they were in Butler. This is the first event, obviously, since the assassination attempt just a couple weeks ago in Pennsylvania. These people are back, and Dan Muser, the congressman, was there as well. Here's what he thinks these people want to hear tonight and why it means so much to them to be here again.
People want to see him. They just want to see him. Yeah. And because of what happened, and he avoided death, he avoided an assassin's bullet. He took a bullet, he rose up. So, yeah, and he speaks the language of the American people. He talks common sense. He says, look, we're a common sense party more than we're a conservative party.
So we will get a feel for what he's going to say in just moments. Could be longer than that. We'll see how long it takes to get here, but these people don't seem to mind because they've been waiting so long to see him again since what was a near tragedy in Butler just a couple weeks ago. That's what's happening in here. Let's find out what the look is outside with Maxine Rose.
That's right, Joel D. I've been out here for a little over 2 hours now. It is definitely still hot out here, though I am standing in the way of a fan here, and so are other people. You can take a look behind me here. People are right by this water hose here, just trying to stay cool as best as they can, trying to drink as much water as they can, though right now we just heard from EMS that there have been people who have received treatment. About 40 people have seen medical professionals because of heat-related issues, and we're also learning that some people were sent to the hospital for those issues, though we don't know how many people at this point, but we are quickly learning what is going on right now, what they are doing, and how they are keeping people safe inside, making sure that everybody is good on the property and safe. Now we will learn more from EMS after the rally, so stay tuned and listen for more. We'll also have more for you from people who've been out here waiting for hours for Donald Trump. Back to you in the studio.
And as Maxine has been reiterating, it's been obviously a very hot day, 91 degrees right now in the Harrisburg area. And remember, the Farm Show complex, there's a lot of blacktop, a lot of concrete, so you get that urban heat island effect. And earlier today, we were dealing with bumper-to-bumper traffic. People were waiting outside shoulder to shoulder. It's a rally, so people are talking loudly. And when you talk loudly in heat like this, you lose oxygen in your body. That causes your body to have more problems regulating temperature. So I'm not surprised that we were seeing some heat-related illness as a result. 91, again, the current temperature in Harrisburg. When you factor in the humidity, it feels like 94. But it's actually going to be worse tomorrow. A heat advisory in place because the heat will be, or the heat index will be right around 100. Not only tomorrow, but Friday as well. More on that coming up in your full weather forecast in just a few minutes.
Here's a look at the area roadways from the Hackman Smart Roof Traffic Alert Center.
And taking a look at some traffic around the Farm Show complex. I want you to look at the bottom box, that live picture there of Maclay and Cameron. This is exactly why you need to avoid that area. There appears to be a police blocking that intersection, and you see the line of traffic just extending all the way, what I think in that location would be towards the south. But regardless, that could be one of the points where the motorcade might be approaching from, but definitely an area you want to avoid. Maclay Street between Cameron and 7th is closed. Arsenal Boulevard at Cameron Street also closed. That's a look at your CBS 21 traffic report. Jasmine, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. On the heels of this month's assassination attempt on the former president, local officials say security is at an all-time high at the farm show and the Harrisburg airport as we await his arrival. Actually, he has landed as we report it. So Elise Person bringing us more details on security measures across the capital city. Elise, you saw Trump Force One land within the last 30 minutes.
Yes, Jasmine, it was about 35 minutes ago that we saw Trump Force One kind of come through the sky and down the tree line behind me where we saw him disappear onto the tarmac. But we were actually set up earlier in the cell phone lot getting ready for Trump Force One's arrival, but we were asked by the Trump campaign to leave. We were told that this was an arrival that was closed to the media. Nobody was allowed to be there because of security purposes. So as you mentioned, since that assassination attempt back in Butler, PA on July 13th, security has been a really big focal point. So leading up to former President Trump's arrival here, I spoke with the different security agencies that would be at the farm show complex, one of which was the Harrisburg police force. So I asked them where they fall in terms of providing security and safety to those in attendance, and they tell me they're at the bottom of the totem pole. A city spokesperson says the rank of security at the Trump rally right now is going to be Secret Service at the lead, followed by Pennsylvania State Police, then Capitol Police, and finally Harrisburg City Police. PSP and Capitol Police say they are working closely with the Secret Service, but they're not providing us with any details as to what that looks like. All state police have said so far today is that all of the lots at the farm show complex are filled. Now, I did reach out to the U.S. Secret Service field office in Philadelphia, and I was told the Secret Service, they're not going to be providing interviews or statements about security at the Trump rally at the farm show. But Harrisburg City Police, they're handling the traffic control at the farm show complex. But a city spokesperson tells me they're ready to jump into action at any moment's notice. As for what that traffic control looks like I had mentioned, the former president had landed here at HIA, so he should be arriving shortly to the farm show complex. But as he comes back to Harrisburg International after the rally, there will be some road closures for the Motorcade, but there will not be any major road closures just because he is at the farm show. But for now, I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Elise Person, thank you very much. So there are many others outside of the farm show complex that have been staying safe. Going inside now, of course, at 6:08 already. Chuy Lin continues our team coverage. So yeah, everybody's pretty much inside.
Yes, that's right, Jasmine. Everybody's pretty much inside, except if you have stepped out a tiny little bit, you are not allowed to be back. So the security really meant it when they said they're shutting the door. So I have here some gentlemen here from New Jersey and New York that they were already inside. However, they are still outside here. What happened? Can you tell me what happened?
Yeah, so we were up front, and then basically we were conversating. We were at the Butler rally, so we were talking to some of the congressmen that were there. Just talking about the events and etc. And then we were asked to clear the aisles, and we looked back, and seats were taken. So as we were making our way back through, there wasn't a single seat open. You know what I mean? We go to all the rallies. We're a crypto meme pack. We go to all the rallies. We go there to register voters. And, we've seen Trump's speech many, many, many times. And, it's time to give the other patriots, a chance for them to hear what he's got to say.
Okay, so I guess lesson learned. If you get up, you better still keep your seats or you will be sent out. So back to you guys.
Wow. Okay. Chuy Lin, thank you so much. Ahead of the former president's rally, Democratic candidates are stressing the importance of voting blue this November. Jake Sarwar from our Sinclair station join us now to share those reactions. Jake.
Yeah, Jasmine, lawmakers and the Harris campaign earlier today expressed their concerns with the former president, especially the opportunity for him to get back into office. Now we're just 97 days away from the presidential election, with former President Trump looking to gain support today in Pennsylvania, which is a key swing state. However, Democrats across the Commonwealth are singing a different tune, looking to support Vice President Kamala Harris. Now ahead of the rally, the Harris for President team has laid out policies they believe negatively impacted the American people during Trump's first term, including killing of jobs and raising costs, offering tax cuts which benefited the wealthy, and ripping away freedom, specifically overturning Roe versus Wade. Now, earlier today, I spoke with State Representative Tara Probst, who represents parts of Pike and Monroe counties, who says in November she's supporting the vice president.
my goal is to make sure that women have rights, and women have a right to the reproductive systems, and women have rights, throughout this country. And I, for one, am voting for Vice President Harris to be the president in 2024.
Now here we're live right outside of McClay Street here. Like they were saying before, and like Elise was saying, state police are closing things down here, but we have not seen the motorcade come in yet. But like we've been saying before, it seems like he'll be here any moment now. Jasmine, back to you.
Jake Sarwar, thank you very much. Still ahead, much more continuing coverage, by the way. And if you're not watching on air, you can join us online. We are streaming on YouTube. Still ahead here, a car bursting into flames and a look at the smoke and flames that firefighters had to battle. Plus, it seems like a harmless crime, cutting down trees, but police are investigating suspicious activity in a local town. We'll fill you in coming up. Firefighters trying to put out a car in flames in Lancaster County last night. Take a look at this. It is images from the scene. Officials say it happened on Route 30 East, right underneath Greenfield Road. Crews did not confirm if anyone was hurt, but firefighters were able to save some of the driver's personal items inside. Traffic was redirected so crews could battle the blaze. No word on what caused it just yet. Over in Camp Hill now, police are looking into suspicious activity after several people were spotted cutting down trees near people's homes yesterday morning. These images you see here were taken near the 400 block of Country Club Road. Officers say that when these people were asked what they were doing, they told officers they were from PPL but did not give ID or prove it. The suspects reportedly left the tree clippings on the scene before running away. Anyone with information on the alleged tree cutters is asked to call Camp Hill Police, the number on your screen right now. Ed?
And we've been dealing with the heat. It's going to turn up tomorrow, so much so the National Weather Service has issued a heat advisory, and that continues through Friday as well. We'll be right back.
Commonwealth. He just posted this video. Mic check, Mark.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait a minute. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, Matt.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
What?
Wait, that was just now.
2 minutes. You guys can head on over. I'll jump in.
So we thought with
Yeah,
Kamala coming next week, kind of they're going to do this same old kind of rally. If we wanted to talk about what that might look
Mark,
like,
we need
or
one more. I apologize.
What's that?
We need
Testing.
one more. Sorry.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So what,
Testing,
Kamala
can you hear me?
next week and
Yep,
what?
and announcing her vice president, she'll pick,
again,
you know,
yeah,
whether it's Shapiro or Kelly or, but.
And just that we're
yeah.
battleground states, so we're going
Yeah.
to see a lot. We are taking you live to Cameron and Maclay Street. Former President Donald Trump's motorcade coming down the street as we speak at this hour, 6:17. Of course, he was set to speak at 6 o'clock tonight. Now, 17 minutes later, he is arriving. We're going to keep this live for you as we watch. All right, there we go. So we are joined by our political insiders right now. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. We, of course, have Democratic strategist Mark Singal, Republican strategist Matt Briette. So you see it there. It just happened. So we're going to hear from former President Trump soon. Matt, what is one thing that he has to say tonight to really hit it?
Well, I think he needs to touch on the issues that Pennsylvanians care about: inflation, immigration, energy. Those are the things that are affecting people's daily lives. And I think that that's where Trump has the advantage, given Kamala Harris's stances on all of those things that are in direct opposition to where Pennsylvanians are.
And when we speak about Kamala Harris, she's coming to Philadelphia on Tuesday. We think we're going to see the VP pick. What's going through your head, Mark?
Well, I think that's going to be a rally. I mean, Trump has perfected the art of holding these rallies, and there's something to be said for stirring up the base and all that kind of thing. And I give him credit for reaching out and getting people all pumped up. But it's a little bit boisterous, and it's really not all that substantive when you really break it down. Kamala Harris introducing her vice president on the heels of this surge of support that she has is going to be a phenomenal boost to her campaign next week.
Well, obviously, Pennsylvania, key battleground state. So we're going to see these people here, right? These nominees here a lot.
Well, whether they're physically here or on your TV nonstop, we're absolutely going to be inundated between, well, these next 97 days for sure.
The Farm Show complex is packed right now, Mark. So what are your thoughts ahead of tonight's rally? Do you think rallies are effective?
Yes and no. I mean, on the one hand, as I say, they kind of get the troops fired up. You know, they can wear their goofy hats and wear their weird T-shirts and things like that. But the numbers in Pennsylvania, I mean, you really have to win, you know, millions of voters in this state. And if you're getting it 10,000 at a time, that just doesn't quite do it. And not only that, but you're not expanding your base at these rallies.
It's interesting you said weird, because there has been many social media postings just kind of saying the Democrats have been using that
Oh, did I use
specific
that word?
Yeah, you got the memo
You
for
sure
the
did.
Democrat talking
Did I work
points.
that
Yeah.
in? I didn't mean to. I apologize. One thing I'm not is weird. So.
Well, but what this does, look, we're covering this on TV. People are seeing this. It's going to be in the news. Yeah. These rallies generate the attention that campaigns want. It's why they do these things.
And have you ever been at one?
I have. I went to one in 2020. I don't need to do it again. It takes a lot of time. I mean, you're there hours beforehand. It doesn't feel like the political rallies that Mark used to have when he was running for office. These feel very different today than they used to.
How so?
really it's a rah-rah. It's because I think what Donald Trump has done is he's brought a lot of people who have not felt part of the political system and the election system. And so a lot of these people that are showing up have felt like they've been left behind so long, and they're not Democrat or Republican. They're really about Donald Trump, who's there to shake up the system.
Okay.
I should let the record show that, you know, when I held a rally, if I had more than 5 people, I figured it was a rally.
Okay. Hey, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. We will be with them again on YouTube if you are streaming there in just a bit. But for now, your forecast with Ed.
And now, CBS 21 News First Warning Weather with meteorologist Ed Russo.
And the big story in the weather department continues to be the heat today. 91 degrees is the current temperature in the Harrisburg area, and the heat index has been upwards of 95 plus at times over the region. 92 in York. Now, Shrewsbury a little cooler there at 85. They had a shower not too long ago. As we show you what it feels like, yeah, it feels hot and steamy out there with the heat index right around 95. Now, tomorrow it's going to be worse. That's why the National Weather Service has a heat advisory in place for tomorrow, not just tomorrow, but Friday as well. So the heat index will be around 100 both days. So you definitely want to take it easy, limit overexertion outside, try to be in a cooled facility with AC, and goes without saying, just make sure you drink plenty of water. All right, over the next couple of days, this is when the core of the heat moves through. Again, heat index around 100. Gets a little better as we go through the afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday. It does look like we're going to see a better chance for rain on Friday, and if it comes through at the right time, we might be a little cooler than this, which would be nice. And remember, we still need the rain, believe it or not. I know I've been sounding like a broken record, but it's true. We actually need a widespread 1 to 2 inch soaking rainfall area-wide. And I'm not seeing it, but at least we still have some spotty storms in the forecast. You can see some across southern Lancaster County here, also into Hartford and Cecil County as well. They just bubbled up and then they kind of fizzled out. So not much to them. You can see back to the west, a little bit more active over the Midwest, and that will be moving our way in the coming days. So tomorrow, probably a better chance for a few storms to pop up during the afternoon. They'll be slow moving, so they'll drop a lot of rain in a short amount of time, but they're spotty. Not everyone's going to see it. Now on Friday, that's when I think everyone has a better chance to see the rain. So these storms not only produce heavy rain, but might pack some gusty winds as well. So the severe weather threat is a little higher on Friday. It doesn't look like a major event, but definitely some of those storms could pack a little bit of a punch. Also watching this tropical wave down here across the Caribbean and Southwest Atlantic. Conditions are more favorable for this to develop further as it heads towards the Bahamas and East Coast. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. 72 for tonight. Tomorrow, weather watch day for the heat. And we're going to continue that as we head into Friday. A little cooler as we go over the weekend.
Okay, well, stick with us because happening right now, supporters of former President Donald Trump are, of course, at the Farm Show complex. We're waiting for him to speak any minute.
We'll be right back.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back. Listen, let's get one more look at the forecast with Ed because it's really hot out there today.
Yeah, it's been hot. You know, all the people that have been gathering, especially outside during the core of the afternoon. Yeah, it's no surprise we're seeing some people with heat-related illness, and we're not even under a weather watch or a heat advisory today. It's actually going to get hotter tomorrow. Highs right around 94. And the heat index will be around or just over 100 degrees, not just tomorrow afternoon, but Friday. Now, the good news is we'll see a better chance for rain on Friday, a better chance for some of you to actually get some rain, which is still very needed. And then we have even another chance for some rain on Saturday as well. Now, some of the storms on Friday could be a bit on the feisty side. They'll be able to drop some rain, but they could be packing some gusty winds as well. Now, as we go through the rest of the weekend, it's looking a little better, slightly cooler. Highs around 90 and temperatures will fall into the 80s, upper 80s for highs as we head into next week. And that right there is your first 7 days of August.
Well, if you are joining us on air, we thank you. And if you want to continue to join us, we're going to be simulcasting on our YouTube page, CBS 21's channel. We will be showing you former President Donald Trump's full speech there. We'll have our political insiders back. And then, of course, we're going to hear from all the reporters on the ground, not only inside, but outside the complex as well. That said, Ed, I want you to tell us a little bit more about this heat and what it does when it comes to dehydration, because we have learned that as many as 40 people were treated for dehydration today.
Yeah, on hot days like today, when you get gatherings like this, you know, you not only have traffic, but you also have people shoulder to shoulder that are breathing the air. And that can actually make the local humidity higher. And when you're yelling, it's a rally, you lose oxygen in your body struggles to regulate body temperature, and you can get more susceptible to heat-related illness.
So if you're outside, be careful. That's the point of that. Join us again on YouTube, and we, of course, will see you at 10 and 11. Former President Donald Trump at the Farm Show Complex. I'm Jasmine Brooks. Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, I'm Jasmine Brooks alongside Ed Russo. Thank you for joining us for the CBS 21 digital newscast. We are, of course, covering former President Donald Trump's trip here to Pennsylvania, specifically Harrisburg, the Farm Show Complex. He was set to speak at 6. We're going on 6:30 now. We're going to bring it live as soon as it happens. Meanwhile, this is the first time that former President Donald Trump has been back to Pennsylvania for a rally since Butler, of course, his attempted assassination attempt. We have spoken to a lot of people on the ground today, some who actually were in Butler just weeks ago. Jolty is inside in the New Holland Arena. I want to go to him live right now.
Okay, yeah, guys. Obviously, people very excited. They're looking forward to seeing Donald Trump any second now. We know he did land at HIA within the last hour, so just a matter of time before he gets here. A lot of times politicians are a little bit late. They got hands to shake, they have people to meet, and then they eventually come inside. Take a look around, 8,500 strong. There is not one seat available in this place. We heard from some folks earlier that left their seats to go talk, to go hang out, to go meet some people. They came back, the seats were gone, so that's unfortunate. Right now they're playing some Kamala Harris videos, and you hear the booze coming in. I want to give you a feel for what it's been like in here in the last maybe 20 minutes. They've been playing music, but it's not get yourself hyped up music. It's been very serene. They played Memory from Cats. Yes, YMCA was in here. That was a dancing song. Can You Feel the Love Tonight from Lion King. Dancing Queen from ABBA. Great Balls of Fire. And then they just had, Can You Feel It in the Air Tonight, Phil Collins. So that's been the mood, kind of ready for the next thing. They're going to explode when they finally see Donald Trump show up, because once again, this is the first time he is back in Pennsylvania since that assassination attempt in Butler, PA just a couple weeks ago. So that's what's happening here right now. Of course, we're ready to bring you that speech as soon as it happens. But these folks are used to these events, so they're probably used to the time not being quite right. I've covered a number of events here when it comes to politicians, and in particular Donald Trump. And this is about right. It comes in maybe 15, 20 minutes late. We're going on half an hour right now. Not unusual for politicians, unfortunately. And the people in here have been very patient, but they are also very ready. We'll send it back to you for now.
Joel D. Smith, thanks so much. And he was saying about just the timing of things. We reported live at 6:17. That's when we saw Donald Trump's motorcade coming in. Also, we were showing the backlog of
reduced red meat specifically
that were, getting stuck near Cameron and McClay there.
Cameron and McClay, there were some cops at the intersection there, and they were basically, you could see the traffic back up for an extended period of time. So it's definitely something you don't want to be caught in, but obviously it was pretty imminent. That his motorcade was going to come through shortly.
Yeah, so of course we're keeping an eye on the stage so we can bring it to you live as soon as his speech does take place. Security, of course, very, very tight. We have gone to Harrisburg Police to kind of see their role, and their role, in fact, was traffic ed. The Secret Service being, at the top level tier to, of course, protect the former president. We were talking to Chu Yi-Lin. She was live outside talking to some of Donald Trump's supporters as they were heading in. And she said it was very strict, with, you have your metal detectors and in your long lines that you're waiting through.
You can't go back outside, because if you go back outside, you're going to be stuck. You can't get back in. So.
A fun little fact, I guess someone was trying to bring in a musical instrument, specifically a flute. They said, nope, got to turn around and take your flute outside. So you can't just, bring in whatever you want there. HIA, we were also stationed there, Elise Person, but actually Trump campaign said you need to move. So very strict security there, this coming off the heels of the attempted assassination just weeks ago, right here in Pennsylvania. So obviously something maybe that many expected.
And of course, a lot of people have been out there since very early this morning, all day, waiting. And of course, it's been very hot today, so that's been an issue too. During the middle of the afternoon, there were about 40 people or so reported that needed medical assistance. I don't believe any of them actually needed to go to the hospital. But when you have just large crowds like this in an area where you have a lot of congestion, a lot of traffic, you can have that urban heat island effect, and it's even stronger in an area where you do have these large gatherings. So temperatures all afternoon have been in the low 90s across the area. The heat index, which of course when you factor in the humidity, what it feels like is higher than that. Yeah. And you see people are handing out water to other people that are working this event. And I got to tell you, water is the best thing in conditions like this. You just want to make sure you're hydrated, because when you're just standing there sweating, you lose a lot of water. So you always want to make sure that you're drinking plenty, especially for those people that have literally been standing in line outside all day long for the event.
Maxine Rose is covering the angle of the heat, and from what she tells us, yes, at least 40 people were checked out on the scene, but we are believing that it is possible some did go to the hospital, so we're going to go with her in just a bit to get some maybe updated information. She was trying to get an interview with EMS, and they're like, after the rally, because all hands are on deck at this point. They did have those spraying mists coming from the air and the big fan, right?
Yeah, the big industrial fan, so a lot of preparation to make sure people are safe in this kind of heat.
The parking lots, again, this is a sold out event. I mean, you didn't have to pay for tickets, but all tickets were, sold out. Joel D just reported 8,500 people filled the New Holland Arena, right? And in addition to that, we were saying how the security is tight, but some gentlemen, they got up literally to talk to some elected officials, and they couldn't even get their seats. Their seats had already been taken by the time they went back to them. So, I mean, mean, they are shoulder to shoulder. Here are the people in line. And I was talking to a gentleman that I knew that had tickets earlier today, and he said, my friends have been there since 2 o'clock. And I thought that was, expected. But no, we're talking some people have been there since the early morning
4
hours.
a.m. I heard as early as.
You have?
Yeah, like super early.
4 a.m. you heard?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. You can see, of course, police on horseback there, lots of merchandise. And I want to actually head over to our political insiders now because, Matt Briette, you were talking just kind of about how these rallies have, I guess, evolved over the years, so to speak. Talk about that a little bit.
Well,
you
were talking about people lining up early. On my drive from my home to my office, I remember in 2020 when he was at the Hershey Giant Center, people were there at 7 a.m. when I was on my way, and there were huge lines, and people couldn't get in. There's just some kind of like rock star mentality of a lot of people that attend these rallies, and they're willing to line up for hours and hours to wait.
Mark, have you ever been at one?
Yes, and I've been at conventions as well.
Okay.
That have a similar vibe to them and so on. But there's another thing about this, and you interviewed those gentlemen from New York,
right,
who travel around and go to these rallies.
We had one from California on tonight. One from California who was in Butler and then came back here.
Right. So what you also have is a percentage of political groupies who are just into this. So the size of the rally is really not quite indicative of the support because you have a whole bunch of people going from place to place. It's like somebody going to every Grateful Dead concert. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so anyway, that's the kind of thing you have to
okay, so
factor in.
Joel D tells us that the VIPs just walked in, which would indicate we're pretty close to starting time. Matt, how long do you expect him to speak for tonight?
Boy, he can go on, right?
We do know that.
We do know that. Whether it's going to be 30 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes, I don't think anybody knows what it's going to be.
I got a sleeping bag in the back there. I figure it's going to be hours, But anyway, the other interesting thing to see is who is going to be introducing him on the stage. Which of the VIPs is going to be closest in proximity to him. And that will give you an idea of who Trump is kind of singling out to lavish support on and things like that.
It's been a busy day for him. He was in Chicago earlier today. Is there anything that you don't want to hear from him and want him to kind of avoid or not focus on?
Well, I think, the challenges for Trump is that it can be a stream of consciousness. There isn't the teleprompter in front of him to guide him every way. But again, like we said earlier, I think if he focuses on the policy issues that affect people's daily lives, that's what he needs to run his campaign on: immigration, inflation, energy. These are the things that people really care about, not the personality contests that these tend to devolve into.
And I think he was trying out some lines early on in Chicago that didn't go well. So one of the things that he should avoid for his own sake, I think, is any mischaracterization of Kamala Harris. He said earlier on, oh, she was Indian and she really wasn't even playing up the fact that she was black until she needed it, making it sound like it was some kind of a strange political commodity for her. So that kind of stuff is just cheap shots. It smacks of birtherism and things like that. So he should avoid that. But if he doesn't, in a political sense, he hurts himself.
And that's kind of the stepping in it, because it is a fact that when Kamala Harris was rising up through the California political ranks, she identified as an Indian American, right? So, but the step in it, those are just, I think that those that's political malpractice that's happening there. And of course, the media will jump on that, the clip from the 30-minute, and use that as saying, well, we're going to, again, call Donald Trump a racist and use this as part of the narrative against him.
And there's one other tagline that has cropped up of late, and that is, if there are things that are out of line in this rally in particular, if Trump is Trump, and there are things that are divisive or just flat out nasty, look for Kamala Harris to say, look me in the face and say it. Tell it to my face. That's a great line, and that's her goading him to debate this on the debate stage.
I hope we have multiple debates. I think that
Bring
that
it
would
on,
be
baby.
yes.
Bring it on.
J.D. Vance has been in the headlines, obviously, very frequently recently. As a Republican, what are your thoughts on that choice for VP?
Well, it certainly is in line with where Donald Trump is, and I think that he will continue to carry that mantle, so it made sense in that regard. But if Trump is trying to expand the base, they need to be talking to what appeals to disaffected Democrats, independents, and even disaffected Republicans. Talk about those issues that matter to them. And I think Vance can tell that story with his own personal story. And let's not get off on these tangents that unfortunately they've been on.
We do have Joel D. live again inside that New Holland arena. Joel D., you heard that VP, you are seeing VIP people coming in at this time?
Right, we saw some of the higher-ups in the campaign actually walk back in within the last couple of minutes. So that's one idea, one hint that maybe we're hitting a different phase here. And it's funny, after every song ends, there's this little bit of a lull, and people think, oh, this could be it. But then another song comes on. One thing I wanted to piggyback on with what your insiders were talking about is some things didn't work this afternoon with some of the things that he said that may have been disparaging of Kamala Harris. Well, that was a tough audience, right? That was the NABJ group, a lot of African Americans in that group. Well, here, if you say something negative about Kamala Harris, you're going to get a huge ovation. So that's tempting to say because you're going to hear the cheer and it's going to come and it's going to feel good if you're on stage and everyone cheers for what you say. But who is he really talking to at this rally? Trying to rally these people to go out and vote for him, even though they probably will, maybe get more people? Or is he trying to communicate with however many people are left that are the swingable votes that are out there that decide elections, especially in a swing state like Pennsylvania? So who does he talk to? Who is he talking to? Is it the people that are tuning in and maybe checking out what does he have to say this time? Or is it trying to make the crowd feel good and make him feel good by what he hears? So once again, you just saw some more police officers come in behind me. Those were state police this time. Let's give you one pan of the crowd one more time and maybe get a feel for what we're seeing here as everyone's kind of walking, looking around and looking for hints as to, is this the thing that could be the hint as to why we're going to be going next? So we are seeing some of these people walk around right now. The state police are moving towards the front. Not sure if that's a signal as well. They're getting actually a standing ovation as they make their way that way as well. Now we're into Macho Man. We have the Village People is very popular in our playlist today as we are evaluating that. The people have been standing, I mean, for a good, 45 minutes right now in anticipation of seeing Donald Trump for the first time since that assassination attempt a couple weeks ago in Butler, PA. So once again, looks like the police, the law enforcement scrambling a bit, going towards the front. That would let you think that things are happening soon. But besides that, we are just not sure at this point. The people seem into this still. They're not tired. They're not feisty. They're not complaining. They are ready. And this place is going to certainly erupt 8,500 strong once he does show up. So, guys, we'll send it back to you for now. We'll keep you updated. Any little bit of information, you'll know it first.
All right, Joel D. Smith, thanks so much. You know, if we can all agree on something, no problem doing that. So when it comes to debating Vice President Kamala Harris, do you think he's ready to do that? Do you think he has any apprehension? Is he afraid? How do you think he feels on that?
Well, he certainly appears to be afraid because he immediately recoiled from the notion of the second debate. He had agreed to 2, and now that Kamala Harris is in the race, he's now making noises like, oh, maybe we won't have that debate anyway.
Well, of course, you got to remember, the agreement was with Joe Biden on his terms, which was all laid out in coordination with the media that was going to host them. So it makes sense for a reset of, all right, here's the terms of our debate going forward with you, the new nominee, not the one that he had with Joe Biden. So I don't think Donald Trump is afraid of it. In fact, I think some of the terms of that debate helped Donald Trump with Joe Biden. So it may be to his advantage to have mics turned off and things like that that help him because, look, at times he will get drawn into the trap and as opposed to focusing on the issues, ends up focusing on the people that
But let the record show that Kamala Harris was a district attorney in San Francisco. She was the attorney general of the state of California. She was a very effective, United States senator when she was on the Judiciary Committee and showed her chops, when she was interrogating various witnesses. She's ready for this.
Well, but as a national candidate, of course, Mark, she never has received a single vote in a primary. She dropped out before she even made it to Iowa in 2020. So she has not demonstrated that as a candidate on the national stage. Easy to win in California when you're a far left liberal winning in San Francisco, and then when you don't even have competition with Republicans.
All that may be true. I'm just saying that if you're talking about who is going to perform well on the debate stage, I'll take a prosecutor as opposed to somebody who is facing numerous brushes with the law.
Today, the National Association of Black Journalists obviously did an interview with President Trump in Chicago, and that is where he is coming from now. Do you think he's going to talk about that tonight?
Oh, I don't know. He might talk about how it was an ambush from the very beginning, that Kamala Harris didn't show up. He was invited to attend this. It started late, and it was really a train wreck all the way through if you actually watch it rather than just the clips that will be grabbed from it. So he may bring it up. I guess I'd be surprised if it doesn't come up in some fashion.
What do you think, Mark?
Well, he requested the appearance, He wasn't immediately invited to it, and his team asked for that forum. And then what he did was got very contentious right away with the people. And there's an old political saying that you don't want to pick an argument with somebody who buys ink by the barrel. So you don't want to go into Atlanta to the National Association of Black Journalists and pick a fight.
Well,
with
Mark,
them.
if you actually watch the whole thing, you will see from the very beginning the original question really went at Trump. It was an unfair characterization, and so that's what that's where he takes the bait. He ends up taking the bait right there. But it was clearly a setup question from the very beginning. So that's how you goad Donald Trump into saying dumb things.
I don't remember what the question was, but all I know is he did not perform well. There was a lot of consternation. People were saying that it was insulting. It was a disgraceful performance. They were offended as black journalists that he was playing a race card right in front of them, and he didn't do himself any favor. So if he brings it up, I'm going to be shocked that he's going to.
Well, I wouldn't characterize it the way Mark has. Again, if people want to watch it, I know it's available out there. You can see to get the full context, and that's the challenge with Donald Trump when he is on for 30 minutes, 90 minutes. It's easy to grab those little snippets and then say, oh, he's a racist. This just shows that, proves that he's a white supremacist, which is all nonsense, particularly when you get the context of the comments.
Let's focus here on Harrisburg today because former President Trump is here now. Let's talk about security. So HIA, we were actually, one of the only news stations on the ground. We were told to move, which of course we did. But that is just one little, or I should say big thing that happened today where you can already see how secure the security is.
It does feel like that. It does feel like there's a heightened level of security. I know 2 hours ago, driving in on one of the major routes, there were all kinds of exits that were already shut down. And this was long before the plane touched down.
This is exclusive video here of Trump Force One landing tonight after 6 o'clock. So there you have it. How do you feel, Matt?
Well, it's not surprising. Obviously, the utter failure of the Secret Service with the Butler rally, that should put everybody on high alert and added security because of that breach of security that happened that killed one person, 2 people injured, obviously, well, 3, including the former president. It's sad that it took that to elevate the level of security, but I think it's merited given what we're seeing happen out there.
So how do you think people on the ground feel? I mean, obviously, we heard from people that were in Butler still come to this rally, so they're motivated and, fear is not on their mind. But even just, sitting in back of the former president, I would think that would be even just...
Wow, you're getting a little twinge of fear there? I hope not. I sure hope it hasn't come to that because,
sure.
We're going to lose something in this country if we can't have free and open debates and even raucous stuff, even stuff we don't agree with, right? Matt and I don't agree on anything, but we can always talk about things like that. So you want people to be free and express how they want to feel, and you don't want people so broken into factions that we actually get violent about it. That's not America. That's not good for anybody.
You know, one of the viral clips that has been going around now is President Trump saying that you won't have to vote after this election if you vote. Matt, can you break down what that means?
I didn't see that. I mean, obviously I don't think that that's a serious idea that was proposed out there, that you don't have to vote. So, since I've not seen it, I really can't. But that seems kind of nonsense.
Well, I've heard clips of that, and yeah, there are certain factions of Democrats who are hysterical over this, saying, you see, he's going to shut down democracy.
He's a dictator,
He's
yes.
got a dictator, and there's not going to be free elections after that.
We're going to have Maduro here in America.
I happen to agree that that's not what he meant. What he was saying was, look, get out and vote for me, and I won't ask you to do that again. This is the last time you ever vote for me, so I don't care if you vote or not. Which is pretty bad in and of itself. It's very arrogant to say, look, vote only if I'm on the ballot, but that's what he was saying.
Another thing that former President Trump continuously says is that day one, he's going to drill, baby, drill, and, you know, close the borders and secure them. Do you think that needs to be top priority here in Pennsylvania?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, we are experiencing the impacts of illegal immigration in Pennsylvania itself. We have nearly 90,000 kids. Just one example, nearly 90,000 kids in the public schools. When we're spending on average $22,000 per kid, this is over $2 million just for people who are not here legally. And we have to provide all sorts of services. And Kamala Harris would expand all of the services so that they get free health care and a path to citizenship. So these are the things that are definitely affecting people's jobs and ultimately the taxpayers' money that they're having to spend to provide these services for the tens of millions of people that have come over into our country illegally.
Just a second, I don't want to make a big deal out of this, but it is Kamala Harris, not Kamala Harris.
Kamala, yes.
There are people.
Did I say it incorrectly?
Yes, you did.
Not intentionally.
I know that to be the fact with you, but I do think that people do it intentionally. It's in a kind of demeaning kind of way. I know you don't mean it that way.
Believe me, I know mispronunciations of names. So.
Yeah.
But I want to speak about
Jasmine, you got it right.
Immigration and security at the border and so on. Let me just remind everybody that after months of a painstaking effort to arrive at a bipartisan deal, just this past February, right, it was Donald Trump who said, I don't want that bill to go forward. This was the most extensive border security bill that we have contemplated in 40 years. And it was Donald Trump who said, kill it, because I want to run on that issue in the fall. So, you know, I'm getting a little tired of hearing about border security when it was their candidate that killed it.
Well, it's actually the day one when Joe Biden came in and removed all of the executive orders that were actually controlling access to the border and remain in Mexico instead of releasing illegal immigrants into the interior of the country. So there were things that Joe Biden could have been doing, sure. And the borders are of Kamala. It's Kamala, thank you. It's Kamala. Kamala Harris was supposed to be tasked with. There were many things that the executive branch could and should have been doing. And it is why the border agents themselves, their union, are supporting Donald Trump and are very vociferously opposed to Biden and Harris because of their utter failure at our borders.
I mean, again, not to get into a big debate about this, and we could talk about this some other time, but the mission that Kamala Harris was given was to get to the source of what's causing the surge in the first place. And the specific task was to meet with heads of state to see if you can construct some kind of bilateral agreement to keep them in place. And that's exactly what happened. As a matter of fact, the number of encounters has shrunk dramatically since Joe Biden has issued his own executive order because Trump killed the bipartisan legislative deal. If you actually want to talk about the facts and go at the numbers, they are completely a fraction of what they were.
Mark, does it rub you the wrong way that she hasn't been to the border?
She has been to the border, but should she have gotten there earlier? Yes. I think that would have been
Did that
a
rub you
smart
the
thing
wrong
to
way?
do. Didn't really rub me the wrong way. I mean, you have all kinds of other priorities when you're the president and vice president, but it would have been good for optics for her to get there sooner than she did.
Do you want to talk about drilling, since we did mention drill, baby, drill?
Oh, certainly. I mean, energy is one of the greatest opportunities right here in Pennsylvania and very important, particularly in Western Pennsylvania. But everything that we do in civilization is undergirded by affordable energy. And with Pennsylvania's natural gas reserves that we have, we should be utilizing that, even if it's a transition to something cleaner, but it is a clean and affordable fuel. She was for banning fracking just 4 years ago, that she wanted to end that, end offshore drilling. She's now flip-flopped her position because it's politically untenable if you want to win in states like Pennsylvania. But that's where she has been. And clearly, Donald Trump is all in favor of our energy opportunities in Pennsylvania.
We have a lot of our crew at the Farm Show Complex tonight, some inside, some outside. So I do want to give this opportunity. Maxine Rose is outside of the Farm Show Complex. Let's go to her now. Maxine?
Yeah, I'm out here right now with Jay. You've been out here for how many hours now?
I've been out here for about like 2 hours now. I just got off of work. So I got off of work at 4 o'clock and I went home, took a shower and drove over here.
So that's a very long time that you've been out here.
Yeah.
How have you been dealing with this heat, and has it really affected you at all?
Well, I got me a couple cold waters as sheets, and then we also got that over there, like the water. I don't know what that's called, but like the fan with the water, and then we got that over there. But I just been sticking in the shade, and yeah.
Okay. Well, we know that about 40 people needed medical attention because of heat-related issues. I can see there's a little bit of a reaction there. We also know that people were hospitalized. What's your reaction to that?
Well, that's shocking. I'm glad those people are. I mean, I hope those people are okay, and I'm glad they got the medical attention that they needed. And yeah, that's why we got the whole ambulance team here.
Yeah. So do you feel better knowing that the ambulances were here today?
Yeah. I feel better knowing about that the ambulances were here and they got the medical attention that they needed and all that, and I hope they're doing well.
Okay, yeah. We know that there were a ton of people out here, but we can only imagine, from where we are now, how many people are inside. We know that we've seen a sneak peek of what inside looks like. How do you think you would handle kind of being in that scenario given the heat?
Given like the heat outside? Just inside. As long as it's air conditioned, they got a couple of waters in there, I'm fine.
But you feel like there's enough attention here to help people given the scenario?
Yeah, I feel like there's enough attention here and enough personnel to take care of people if they have heat strokes or anything like that.
Was there ever a point today where you said, man, it is so hot, I don't know if I can stay out here? Or were you determined to stay? Can you give me a little bit of an idea of how was that for you?
Well, when I first got here, I was like, yeah, it was really hot, but I decided to man up, handle it. I worked in hot conditions before, so I already know how it is. I worked in hotter conditions outside, so I'm used to it at this point.
Why do you think that so many people stayed out here despite the heat?
They were out here to see President Trump, see their president.
All right. Well, you heard it here first from Jay. Now we'll hear more from people later tonight about how they were dealing with this heat. Right now, we are just trying to stay hydrated as much as possible. So for now, we'll send it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, the heat has been a big story today as temperatures have been sitting in the low 90s. It's been humid outside. Now, you have to remember, you've probably heard the term urban heat island effect, and that usually happens when you're in a city where just all the concrete and macadam and blacktop really absorb all of the heat from the sun, and these downtown urban areas are hotter as a result. So highs today have been in the low 90s. When you factor in the humidity, it's felt like 95, 96 degrees at times. It's improved a little bit from this afternoon, but remember, the downtown areas are going to be hotter, and even more so in an area where you have a lot of traffic congestion. Much of the afternoon as people were pulling into the Farm Show complex, you had bumper-to-bumper traffic, and then you had people standing in line, and those people standing in line were basically shoulder to shoulder, and just everybody just being really close like that can actually make it feel hotter, and people are talking louder. They're at a rally. And when you're talking a lot outside in the heat, you lose oxygen in your body, and that basically means your body has to work harder to regulate temperature. And that's probably part of the reason. That was at least partially a contribution to why we saw some of the heat-related illness out there.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, if you're just joining us on YouTube, we say thank you. We are, of course, waiting for former President Donald Trump to take the stand at the Farm Show complex inside the New Holland Arena. We're talking 8,500 people there. Joel D. Smith, if my producers can get him ready, he'd like to come back on. And also, we have some some exclusive video I'd like to eventually share again. Not only did we catch Trump Air Force One tonight coming into Harrisburg, but the motorcade as well. But this is a live look right now inside as we await the former president to talk. Can we go to Joel D? Not yet. Okay, we're going to work on that for you. He did say that he does feel as more people approach the stage, specifically, you know, the VIP people, that we're getting close. Now, he was scheduled, former President Donald Trump, to speak at 6. We're exactly at 7 o'clock right now, so I couldn't imagine that he will take much longer.
And Joel D was saying earlier, every time there's like a break in between songs, everybody thinks that's the moment, and then another song plays. So.
Yeah, we were talking so much today about security, and there were some people that, you know, they had to go outside for whatever reason, and that was it. Doors were shut, you could not get back in, right? We had to leave the airport once we were, yes. We had to leave HIA as we were not allowed to be, you know, on the immediate premises there because of security. We're working on getting that exclusive video of Trump Force One pulling into Harrisburg, though. That came in just after 6 o'clock tonight. So here's a look right now from our cameras. CBS 21 getting that of Trump Force One coming on in to Harrisburg. Now, this comes on the heels of him being in Chicago today, a packed schedule. He was talking to the National Associations of Black Journalists today. That is a video that I would suggest you check out for yourself, because as we know, you know, social media plays so many little clips of different things, so you really have to encompass the entire interview to kind of see what you think. I'm actually texting with Joel D. Smith before we go to him. He said, you know, I just talked to a reporter who spoke with him, and she says any minute now. So we're looking at just a few minutes until Trump takes the stage, and here he is. So we're just giving it 1 second, but we're going to go live inside the Farm Show complex. Former President Donald Trump taking to the stand. Here we go. You can see he's walking up. Everybody has their cameras out, right?
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's a great crowd. There are a lot of people. Over 20,000 people couldn't get in, and we didn't need anybody to get the people here. We didn't need a star. We didn't need a star. We didn't need some entertainer to fill it up, and then she goes on last night In about 6 minutes, everyone was leaving. They were pouring out. We don't need that. We've got our star. You know who the star is? All of you people are the star. You're the star. And I mean that. Hello, Harrisburg. A very special hello to Pennsylvania. I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful Commonwealth with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. Thank you very much. As you know, this is my first return to Pennsylvania since our rally in Butler. We're going back to Butler, too, by the way. People said to me, "Are you serious?" I said, "I'm serious. We're going back." It's a great place. 18 days ago, where we had a very terrible day. We had a rough day, I will tell you, by all accounts. I should not be with you today. I shouldn't be with you. But I am. I want to thank all of the people of Pennsylvania for their extraordinary love and support. It is incredible. We're going to win this thing so big. We're going to win it big, including everyone at Butler Memorial Hospital. They were fantastic. Wow. Wow. They saw some pretty bad things. Thank you. Thank you very much. No, they did an amazing job. And we have, by the way, we have the doctor, one of the great doctors was there. He worked on Corey, actually. Corey had a hard time. Corey is special. Thank you, doctor. Appreciate it very much. Great doctors. Great doctors. The job they did on David Dutch and James Copenhaver was just incredible. And as you know, they brought him back from very, very seriously wounded. They were going to be maybe not with us. It was a group of us, but they are doing really well now. They're making it. They're going to be fine. Not going to be perfect, maybe, but who is? Who is? As we get older, who is perfect? But the doctors were so great. They had two great doctors also. And most of all, we lift the our memory to the brave firefighter who was so cruelly taken from us, Corey Comparator. Corey Comparator. A very brave guy, loved by his family and his friends. He was really loved. In his last act on this earth, Corey threw himself over his wife and daughters and died, shielding them from the bullets of a very disturbed guy. Corey is a hero to all of us, I want to thank a friend of mine, too. I'm not going to mention his name because he's pretty well known. And he came up to me, he said, would it be okay if I presented Corey's wife and family with a check? And I said, yeah, it would be okay with me. It's certainly okay. And he handed me a check for $1 million. $1 million. Think of that. Thank you, Dan. So he was very generous. In addition, we have a GoFundMe that's, it's really been great. I think we're at $6 million mark for the three of them, plus some other people. So, but you know what? Corey's wife said, I'd rather have my husband. Isn't that good? I know a lot of wives that would not say that. I'm sorry. They would not say that. But no, it's a great family. He was a great man. He was a brave man. He saw what was happening and he jumped on top and he got hit. But we will carry Corey's spirit of love and devotion and patriotism with us for all time, and we will never forget Corey or his beautiful family. And maybe let's have a brief moment of silence in memory of Corey, great Pennsylvanian. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Beautiful. Beautiful. That is the most quiet I have ever heard an arena. I have never heard, you could hear a pin drop. No, it's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. In the wake of this heinous attack, we gather tonight more determined than ever. Our resolve is unbroken and our will is undeterred. Nothing will stop us on our mission to make America great again. Nothing's going to stop us. Our country is doing badly. Front row Joe's over here. Front row Joe's, look at them. They've been to 212 events. You know, I'm pretty sure we have their vote. I'm not sure. You can never be sure of anything. You're voting for Trump. Okay, front row Joes. They love us and we love them. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. But as we're fighting to bring back the American dream for you and your family, the radical left Democrat Party bosses have installed a puppet candidate to fight only for themselves. Kamala Harris got 0 votes. She's totally scripted, owned, and controlled by the donors and the power brokers who created her campaign and who rip off our government and make billions and billions of dollars. They want to call them up and they want to deal with her. And I didn't deal like that. I never dealt like that. I didn't need the money. I said, no, I don't want to do that. I told a lot of guys that I like and some guys that I don't like, but very rich people, I just can't do that. I can't do it. They want to do the telephone systems. They want to do lots of little things like that. We'd like to take over the telephone system of the United States. I'm sorry, I can't do that. But unlike her, I cannot be bought and I cannot be controlled. I have no interest in that. My only loyalty is to you, the people. And you know that. Well, I could have had such a nice, easy life. I could be at a nice place right now, relaxing, watching the waves break in. But I'd rather be right here in Harrisburg with you. People that built our country. You're the people that built our country. I mean, some people don't like saying that, but you are indeed the people that built the country. We have, no matter where we go, we have the most incredible people. After lying to the country for years about Joe Biden's mental and physical condition, Kamala is now being given a personality makeover. Don't forget, 4 weeks ago, she was like considered the worst. Not smart, terrible, the worst vice president in history. He's the worst president we've ever had. But they were considered terrible. And all of a sudden, she's the new Margaret Thatcher. That happened, right? The great Margaret Thatcher. No, I don't think so. But you're gonna learn little things like defund the police. That doesn't work, does it, huh? You're gonna learn. Because everything about Kamala Harris rollout, it's phony and it's fake. Did you see when President Obama and Michelle called? Did you see? Hello? Hello? Yes. Yes. Who is this? Oh, this is Michelle and Barack. Oh. So surprised to hear. They got 4 cameras in front. Oh, I'm so surprised. It's on speakerphone. Listen, we just want to congratulate you on destroying Joe Biden. I mean, on winning the... Hey, is Joe Biden gonna... Was that the phoniest phone call you've ever seen? How do you think, Dan? What do you think? Dan Muser, great congressman. What do you think? Was that a phony phone call? You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't get away. In your district, you wouldn't get away with it, would you? But she's a defund the police radical trying to pass herself off as a tough on crime prosecutor. She wasn't tough on crime. She's only tough on guys like me because they want to go after their political opponents. And we won the big case in Florida. Did you see? We won it. And he had a similar case, but it was much worse, and he didn't have the Presidential Records Act. He had a similar case, and you know, the special counsel, which is basically special prosecutor, adjudged him to be essentially mentally incompetent, with poor memory, but a nice old guy. He's not old. You know, 81 is not old. I have friends that are 95 that are still. Bernie Marcus, founder of Home Depot, 95 years old, still sharp, still sharp. I spoke to him the other day. I said, I think you're smarter now than you were 30 years ago. I don't know what's going on. I said, what's going on? It's working every 81 is not old. And, but he's different. He's a bad 81. He's a bad 81. And he's destroying our country, I'll tell you. And she's worse than he is. She is actually worse than he is because she's a real radical left. He's a phony radical left. He didn't believe this stuff. He didn't believe in open borders, and she does. She wants to open your borders. She wants to have all-electric cars. She loves the all-electric car mandate. She destroyed San Francisco. But she's the architect of the border invasion, trying to pretend she's strong on border security. She's now pretending that she was never called the border czar. She was called the border czar the first day. She's the border czar. And she never went. She actually went, you know, they fact-check me. Anything I say is like a little. She actually went to a beautiful part of the border. I would love to take my First Lady wife there to have dinner. It's beautiful, very safe. No, she didn't go to the real border, did she, Front Row Joe? She went to a nice little place, was there for a short period of time and left. So she's never really been to the border, and she's the border czar, and our country's being invaded with people from prisons and people from mental institutions and terrorists. She's a failed vice president leading a failed administration while trying to convince you that she represents hope and change. Well, she does represent change. She wants to turn us into a communist country. That's her change. She was voted the most unpopular vice president in history. That's hard for a vice president to be that unpopular, right? Just like Biden will go down as the single worst president in the history of our nation. The happiest man is Jimmy Carter. He's an old guy right now. He's an old guy, but he's happy because his administration is considered brilliant. Brilliant by comparison to this disaster that we have right now. In her speech in Atlanta last night, Kamala Harris even tried to outbrand a new Southern accent. Did you hear a new accent? If I ever did that, all of those people back there, look at them, look at all those cameras. That's so oh, when I go through hell, I'd have a week of hell if I ever tried to do that. The contrast could not be more stark. On the one hand, you have a radical left puppet candidate who is fake, fake, fake. And on the other hand, you have a president who will fight, fight, fight for America. This is a hell of a big arena. How many seats is this? Looks like Madison Square Garden. This is a big, beautiful place. Wow. I didn't care. I didn't care. Although they'd prefer that we be in an arena. I don't know why. But we're not giving up the outdoor rallies. You know, all those people that we had to turn away today at an outdoor rally, you can have, we had 107,000 people show up in New Jersey. 107,000. But you know, in the South Bronx, we had 25,000 people. It was like a love fest. South Bronx, tough place, but it was a lot of love. No matter how much Kamala Harris tries to change her image, she cannot change this fact. She is the most extreme liberal candidate in the history of our country by far. She's an extreme radical left lunatic. And you know, I've been saying for the last 6 months, I've been saying about politicians, because I really know politicians. Well, I've dealt with them on both sides, and you know, then I said, let's do this, you know, thank you. But when a politician comes out early on with an idea like she wants to defund the police and all these other things she wants to do, really bad things, that's where they're at. They're going to be there eventually, right? Mike Kelly, stand up, Mike, will you please? This guy, he used to stand up. He's my friend. He endorsed me on day one, right? Day one. Day one. He endorsed me before I was running. He said, that guy's got to run. I endorsed him. I didn't even run. How many endorsements do I have? Well, you got Kelly of Pennsylvania. I wasn't running. Anyway, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. He would stand out at those outdoor rallies when it was 10 degrees below zero and it was 97 degrees out without a shirt on. It's not that pretty a sight. Not that pretty, but he had no fear. He's a tough guy, and they love him. They love you in this state. Kamala Harris co-sponsored Bernie Sanders' $32 trillion socialist takeover of the entire U.S. health care system. Think of this. U.S. health care, it would mean that we're going to have to raise your taxes, bankrupt our country, and she supported outlawing all of the private health insurance. A lot of people in this room have some people want private health. Some of it's incredible. You go to these companies, they're doing an incredible job. They want to be able to, she wants that banned and she wants that outlawed. You can't buy that anymore. You're paying for it, but it's great stuff. I mean, some of the companies have unbelievable, the golden plans and all that, and she wants it to be ended. She pledged to give free taxpayer-funded health care to all illegal aliens. Think of that. Oh, and she'll do that. Which will totally destroy our Social Security system. She sponsored a bill to give illegal aliens taxpayer-funded lawyers so they could sue us. And she called for abolishing ICE. These are unbelievable patriots, by the way. They're almost as tough as our congressman sitting in the front. They're almost as tough as the man that's going to be your next governor, by the way. He's tough, too. He's tough. He's a great military hero. And he'll come up. I'm allowed to have him up for a little while, right? Just a couple of minutes, right? He's great. He's great. And I hear you doing very well, but you get ready. You get ready. You got to knock them dead. She compared ICE agents to members of the KKK. She likened Border Patrol agents to practitioners of human slavery. We have a lot of those great people here tonight, like Brandon Judd, the head of the union. Paul, we have so many different people, and they didn't like that analogy too much. She voted in favor of deadly sanctuary cities numerous times. She supports open borders. That's all you'd have to hear. I think 2 words. You know, they say, sir, go down a list. We have a list of 25 things. All you really have to say is 2 things. Open borders, defund the police. The rest is all, but, you know, although she is going to kill Social Security, because by putting all of these illegal aliens into Social Security, it's dead. It's dead. She opposes even saying the words illegal alien and radical Islamic terrorists. She backs mass amnesty, and citizenship for all illegals. She supports mandatory gun confiscation. Would anybody mind, Mr. Congressman, would they mind having their guns ripped out of their arms as they enter their house or their apartment? I don't think so. I don't think. She said that 70 to 80% tax rate is, quote, a very bold idea, something that we have to discuss very seriously. She likes it. And you know, all my life I watched politicians, and they've always said, we will reduce your taxes, we will reduce your taxes, we will cut your taxes. They want to give you a tax increase of 5 times what you're paying now. How the hell do you get elected? This country is so screwed up. Everything's backwards. We want open border, we want taxing. How do you like to be a politician? We want open borders, we want tax increases, we want all electric cars so that you can go 15 minutes before you charge it up. And for all the congressmen that are here, in the Midwest, they built 8 charging stations. Now, you know what that is? That's like a gas pump with electricity coming out of it, just a charging terminal. It cost $9 billion. Did you hear that, Mike? Did you hear that? Scott, oh, I said, he's another tough. We got tough congressmen here. These are tough cookies, these Pennsylvania guys. Wow, look at that. We're going to introduce them in a second. Scott. So they spent $9 billion on 8 charging stations, 2 of which never worked. I don't think any of them worked. She wants government intervention to slash consumption of red meat. They don't want red meat. That means they don't want your cows. Get rid of your cows. Would anybody like to keep red meat? Raise your hand. You know, think of it. Borders and electric mandate and all the things. Red meat. Oh, how the hell do you get elected, right? You know how they got elected? By cheating. They get elected by cheating. Because they want to raise your taxes by 5 times. Oh, please vote for me. I'm going to raise your taxes 5 times higher. But the red meat is to fight climate change, okay? Climate change. She supports ending cash bail to immediately release criminals upon arrest. If they kill somebody, no bail, don't worry about it, no cash. You know, you just killed 3 people, no. Let's let them out in Harrisburg. It's a wonderful place. And in 2020, she personally urged her followers to donate money to bail out the violent rioters, get them right out of jail, including murderers. You know what that was all about, right? In Minnesota, which I think we have a good chance of winning. Hasn't been won since 1972 by a Republican. And we're leading. Tom Emmer's going to bring that one home, they tell me. He's going to bring it home. This November, the American people are going to reject Kamala Harris's dangerous liberal extremism in a massive landslide. We're going to, too big to rig, right? Too big to rig. Too big to rig. We're not going to let her turn the United States into a communist San Francisco colony. We're not going to let it happen. That's what they want to do. They want to destroy our country. She's the worst. She was a bad DA long before you had your DA, long before you had some of these DAs that you have, as you know, in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, but in Los Angeles, all over the place, all over the place. You have bad DAs. You have radical left, horrible DAs that are funded by Soros and others, and they're weak. They're just weak on crime. They don't mind if somebody murders somebody. They don't want them to go to jail. You can kill somebody now. Our country is sick. The mindset of our country is sick. And we're not going to let her do to Pennsylvania what she did to California. She destroyed San Francisco, one of the best cities in the world, and it's in tatters. So she's a liberal from California. She ruined the state. She ruined this one of the greatest cities in the world. You know, 15 years ago, a great friend of mine, Bob Tisch, great guy, who's an owner of the New York Giants, and a very smart guy, wonderful guy, too. Maybe even longer, a little longer than 15. He said San Francisco is the best city in our country. And today, it's a disaster, just a disaster. He passed away quite a while ago, and he would look down and say, what the hell happened to that city? But he thought San Francisco was one of the greats. He thought Chicago was one of the greats. You know, Chicago, on July 4th weekend, had 117 shootings, and 17 people died. Think of it. This is not even believable. When you hear about Afghanistan and the horrible job that this president did with Afghanistan, a low point, but they don't have anything like that. In one of the most astoundingly phony moments in her speech last night, Kamala Harris bragged that, quote, I will proudly put my record against Donald Trump's any day of the week. I will put it against Donald Trump. This got one of the worst records in anywhere. Well, Kamala, let's go. Challenge accepted. Are you ready? Let's compare our record point by point. I can't believe I'm doing it. You know, the weird thing, I mean, 2 weeks ago, I was talking about Biden. I didn't even know her name. Nobody did. Kamala. Hello. Beautiful. I didn't even know her name. Kamala. I heard she was a rotten border czar. That's about all I knew about her. Her only job was the border, and she never went there. But 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, it was all about Biden. Then I kept hearing they were going to steal it from him, and I said, you know, it's hard to do because I understand when you have the delegates. He had all the he had 100% of the delegates. He had 14 million votes. I said, you can't really do it. But then they threatened him very strongly. They said, you're incompetent, and we're going to get you out. He just won, you know. No, they happened to be right. He was incompetent, but these are minor details. No, he just won. He had all the votes. And he could have said no, but he was afraid. And he's an angry man right now. Here's the big question I have. Will he be invited to the Democrat National Convention? Will he be invited, Mr. Congressman? I don't know. Now he will because I'm mentioning it. If I didn't mention it, he would not be invited. But now they have to invite him. But you know what's crazy, the craziest thing? So you don't mind if I go off teleprompter all the time. It's such a shame. I have these great speechwriters. They really are. Ross and Vince, they're great. They're the best speechwriters. And I hardly speak about this. I could read the most gorgeous speech, but you may be bored to tears. No, they're beautiful. The words are beautiful. Everything's great. The sun will rise. The moon will set. The oceans will glisten. I say, that's beautiful, but I'm not sure that Harrisburg wants to hear that stuff. What do you think, Congressman? What do you think? Doctor, I don't think so. No, they are great, but I tend to go off about 75% of the time. But you know, the hard part is that 3-4 weeks ago, I was talking about Biden. He's incompetent, he's a horrible president, he's the worst president in the history of the country. Now I say she's the worst vice president, which is true. She's considered the worst. She's the most unpopular vice president in the history of the country. She did a transformation. You know, the press is very corrupt, you know that. They gave her a transformation like Houdini. That was a Houdini-like, that was a magic trick. But don't worry, she's going to fall because it's not about him or her, it's about the policies. They're the same and they're horrible, right? But they gave her so, you know, it's sort of like, I don't know if anybody watch UFC as an example. Do you watch it, right? Dana White, the great Dana White. Did you see him? He introduced me the other day at our convention. We had the greatest convention in the history of politics, in my opinion. Thank you, Milwaukee and Wisconsin, and the arena was beautiful. It was an unbelievable, but Dana White introduced me, and he heads up UFC. He's done an incredible job. But it's almost like you're having a fight between two guys, and one guy is getting beat up bad. Then he goes to a debate, right? The debate didn't work out too well. How did the debate work out for him? I don't think so good, Scott. The debate didn't work out exactly good. Then he tried to recover from the debate by going out every day, and it got worse and worse. It was a basic disaster. But it's like having two fighters, and the one guy's getting beat up really badly, and they say, all right, stop the fight. Come on out. I'll put a new one in. That's what we have here. Kamala's the new fighter. Who cares? Under my leadership, we achieved the most secure border in U.S. history. You know that, because you didn't have people sleeping on your lawn all night. We ended catch and release. We stopped asylum, fraud, coal. We got remain in Mexico. Remember that one? You think that was easy to get? I call up the president of Mexico, a friend of mine. He's a socialist, but still he was a friend of mine. He gave us many, many thousands of troops to guard our border while we were building the wall. I built hundreds of miles of wall, and then they didn't want to finish it up, which could have taken place very quickly. But think of it. But, you know, we got remain, think of it, remain in Mexico. That means you can't come into our country. You have to remain in Mexico until you get approved, of which very few people got approved. You think that was easy? That wasn't easy. Negotiated historic safe third agreements, which are complex. I won't waste your time, but they were great. With Central American nations, built 571 miles. Think of that, a border wall. We're going to add another 200, far more than I said I was going to build. And it was working. It was working. It was good. We had the best illegal immigration non-flow, I call it. They were having a hard time. Also, drugs were way down. Human trafficking was way down. It's human trafficking in women, mostly. You know, it sounds ancient, human trafficking. It sounds like something from 1,000 years ago, but it's as big a business, in a sense, as the drug business. And the reason is because of the internet. the internet made human trafficking a very, very big and horrible business. They traffic in women. They put them in the trunk of a car. They put them in the back seat, and they close it up, and you can't even breathe. And they bring them across the border. We had knocked it down cold, and now it's at a level 5 times greater than it ever was before. Nobody's there to check. Nobody's to look at the car. Nobody knows who's there, who's in it. But you can see it on a certain chart that I have. You know, this chart saved my life. Where is that chart? I love that chart. I'm going to sleep with that chart for the rest of my life, that chart. That chart. You know, the amazing thing, you know, the people that operate the computers and all the brilliant equipment we have backstage, she said to me, she's great, she's great. She should come out. Just tell her to come out here for a second. Quick, 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 quick. You got to get her out. She's never done this before. She saved my life, in a sense. I said, you saved my life. Here she is. Wow. Whoa.
Hi.
No, she's a computer genius. She saved my life. No. So, you know, the story is, but that chart, I only used it probably less than 20% of the time. So in other words, we do the rallies and stuff. Sometimes I'll pull it down, sometimes I won't, because I do things a little bit at random while I'm up here. Hello, look at a big fella back there. But I do things a little bit at random. But 2 things about the chart. It's always on my left, which means I'm gone. It's always on my left. If it was on my left, I have Mr. Governor, Mr. Future Governor. I have no chance, because it would have been perfect hit. And it's only used a little bit. And I always use it at the end of a speech. I never used it early. In fact, you were saying today, we were really sort of flabbergasted because you called for it at the very beginning of your speech. And that chart, I'm so proud of it. Now I like it much more than I liked it before. But see the arrow on the bottom? That's the lowest level of illegal immigration in the history of our country recorded. And that was the last week of my presidency, Mike. So that was the last week, and look what happened to our country after that. And those are now a little bit old, because if you look on the right, it's a little bit old. Those numbers are much higher. They right now would go off the ceiling. And that's what happened to our country in a short period of time, 3.5 years. But look at that number and look at that arrow. So anyway, much more importantly right now, I say, I'm talking about illegal immigration real quick. I said, you know what, pull up the chart. Pull it up. And they weren't ready but they're so good. And I said, wow, that was so quick. There's nobody over here except for this lunatic. And because the crowd was massive, as far as the eye could see, I mean, that's why I love those outdoor sites, because you don't have to send 20,000 people back home. And I hate to do that. They come out and they want to get in, and then you get the seats. Would anybody like to give up your seat? I thought you were nicer people than that in Pennsylvania. Anyway, so I say chart, and I go like this, and the chart, pew. So a couple of things. She told me today, she said, you know, the amazing thing is you always call for the chart at the end of the speech, not the beginning. So that was one factor. That's crazy. It's always on your left, not your right. It happened to be on the right this time. I don't think I've ever seen it on the right. And various other things. And if I'm here, it's over. If I'm here, it's no good. I had to be exactly, because he was exactly where that very beautiful woman in the white is, right? Stand up. That's exactly. And my son said, that's not a long distance, 100. I don't know so much about shooting, other than I'm very good for the Second Amendment, I can tell you, but I don't know so much about shooting. But I know about sports, I know about golf. He said, that's like sinking a 2-foot putt, Dad. That would be the equivalent, is that right? He actually said it might be less than that, because some people can't sink a 2-foot putt, like Biden. I would say Biden. Biden can't sink. But that's like sinking. Did anybody see the Bryson DeChambeau thing? That was cool. We had a good time. He's a great guy, great young athlete. So all these things, and then you figure, what are the odds that happened, right? Where you're literally exactly there. You hadn't made the full turn. But that chart will always be my world's most favorite chart for a lot of reasons. Number one is that day in Butler, Pennsylvania. And number two is, look at those numbers. That was the lowest number of illegal aliens that we've ever had. So it really was a very important, that was a very important thing. It was done by Border Patrol. Now let's examine the record of border czar Harris. She inherited the strongest border in U.S. history and immediately turned it into the worst border nightmare in the history of the world. There's no country in the world that's ever had a border like this. I think the real number is 20 million people, maybe more. Nobody knows. You have a thing called gotaways. We have millions of gotaways, meaning people that weren't caught, they got away. Upon taking office, Harris and Biden stopped wall construction, halted all deportations, protected sanctuary cities, ended remain in Mexico and our asylum cooperation agreements, which are very important, and allowed a gigantic invasion of our country, bringing in millions and millions of illegal aliens at levels never seen before. Now, actually, other than that, I thought she's just doing a very good job, right? She's done a wonderful job. She's the worst ever. And she's going to be your president. She will destroy our country. This November, the American people are going to compare these records, and they're going to tell Border Czar Harris, you have done a horrible job. You're a disgrace to our country. You're fired. Get out of here. You're fired. Get out. Get the hell out of here. But Kamala is protected by the fake news. They're trying to delete everything she said. Hey, did you ever see the Unselect Committee? The Unselect Committee on January 6th, did you see where they went and deleted and destroyed all evidence? It was deleted and destroyed. So I think, Dan, you and all of my friends here, they should be indicted for that. They destroyed evidence. You know why? Because the evidence showed that we were innocent. The evidence showed that Nancy Pelosi should have had protection at the Capitol that I offered her, and they turned it down. The evidence showed that all these stories were fake, including me wanting to grab a big, strong Secret Service agent around the neck. Think of this. Think of this. I'm in a car. I say, fellas, I'd love to go down to the Capitol. Sir, we don't think it's good because, you're very exposed there. It's all that. Okay. I said, you don't think we could? No. So I said, all right, where do you want to go? They'll go back to the White House. That's the experience. This one person had me getting extremely upset. I don't get upset. When somebody smart says, sir, you're probably better. And nothing was happening. It was just people were walking down. Remember, patriotically, right? Right? Right. So they had me coming from the back of the car. Now, these guys are very strong. They're young and strong. Not as strong as me, but they're strong. And I grabbed the one guy driving, and he's got arms like this. I grabbed him, and I was rebuffed. And then I went over to the right, and I think he's like a world champion karate guy, right? Like a very tough cookie. Bobby. His name's Bobby. That's all I know, but I know him well. He's a good guy. And I grabbed him around the neck. And I began to twist and turn. And he was in tremendous pain because of the power of Trump. Tremendous pain. And then I went back to the White House, and I started throwing hamburgers at the wall. This is the story of this person. So they went to the Secret Service. They found out it was all bullshit. Everything. All made up. It was just made up. Which most people, I mean, honestly, most people would think that. You know, think of me grabbing these two strong, tough guys. That's what they do. The one guy said, you know, if somebody ever put their arms around me, he's trained automatically to go with his fingers like that. You know, that's what he's trained. I like other things better, personally. I'd like to run the country better. That's what I'd like to do, you know. So they're good with the finger. They're good with their fingers into the eye. The fingers into the eye, and you have a tendency to immediately let go and get a towel and start crying because it hurts. They say, oh, that hurts. No, it was all made up stuff, you know. It was all made up stuff. But wouldn't you think it is? I mean, who would believe Trump was so angry he grabbed the one guy who was rebuffed, then he grabbed the other one around the neck? These people are sick. Who would believe it? But probably some people do, even if it's 5 people. But some people would believe it. You know, they hear it. They deleted everything because the stories turned out to be false. They deleted everything. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 troops or National Guard. If we had 500, you wouldn't have had a problem. And what you never see is the crowd. The crowd was the largest crowd I've ever spoken before. And a small portion walked peacefully and patriotically down to the Capitol. You remember the term? Peacefully and patriotically. He's horrible. It's insurrection. You know, if you have an insurrection, you don't say peacefully and patriotically, right, Mike? You say, let's go. No, these are really bad people. These are crooked people. And then her daughter, you saw that about a month ago, her daughter taped her saying that it was her fault the day. Their daughter is a cinematographer. I'm sure Nancy's thrilled. They just released a tape where Nancy is saying, this is my fault. This is during the thing because she didn't accept my offer. She said, this is my fault. I could have stopped this. Now she's trying to say, well, she didn't really mean that. No, these are bad people. They're trying to delete everything that she said over the last, think of it, this is on Kamala, it's no different. Over the last 10 years, that's controversial or bad. It's like defund the police, the fact that she was given authority over the border, that, you know, they're trying to say that under no circumstances was she even in charge of the border. And the fake news is trying to delete everything. Are you seeing what's going on? They're trying to delete everything. But you know, it's a wonderful, the internet is wonderful in certain ways. We have every single copy of every article, but they're trying to delete it. Under crazy Kamala's policies, you know, when I got hit, everybody thought I was going to be a nice guy. And they thought I changed. Remember, just before the Republican convention. And nobody thought I'd be there. You know, it's not great to be there when your ear is slightly throbbing. Let's go to the convention, darling, to the First Lady. Let's go. But I got there. Next day, I left, right? And it was the greatest convention. And it was like a convention like no other. It was a convention that we were all so proud of. But they all said, Trump is going to be a nice man now. He came close to death. And I really agreed with that for about 8 hours or so. And then I realized they were trying to put me in prison for doing absolutely nothing wrong. They went to judges who are crooked judges. They went to judges who are fake. They had prosecutors who are Democrat radical lefts, and always in areas where it's like 3% Republican or less. And I said, you know, these are bad people. So I was nice for about, what would you say, Dan, 3, 4, 5 hours. And then I said, these are bad people. We have to win this battle. And you know what? They're going to become nicer when we win. But we're going to have to win, I believe, to make them reasonable because they are crazy. They are crazy. Under Kamala's policies, criminals, rapists, and vicious gang members are pouring in from South America, Asia, Africa, the Middle East, from prisons, from jails, from mental institutions, and insane asylum. You know, an insane asylum is a step above, right? This is, oh, they go crazy when they want to try and say, he's cognitively impaired. You know, I stand up here for 2 hours and I speak without a mistake. But when I say Hannibal Lecter They say, why does he keep mentioning it? Because Hannibal Lecter was a serious psycho, right? He was Silence of the Lambs. Dr. Hannibal Lecter, he'd like to have you for dinner. See the man with the wall? Stand up. Look at this guy. He's here so much. He's great. He's great. He's a Trump voter. I don't think we have to worry about him, do we? He's a Trump voter all the way. But Hannibal Lecter would like to have you for dinner. But these people are now in our country, and they always, actually it's quite clever, I think, but, what do you do? But they're always saying, like, he mentions Hannibal Lecter. It doesn't make sense. No, it makes a lot of sense. They're coming into our country, and they're coming in from insane asylums, which are closing all over the world. It's not just South America, because we have the worst people representing our country. They laugh at the stupidity of these people all over the world. They're coming from the Congo in Africa, 22 prisoners right out of prisons from the Congo in Africa, not just South America. Meanwhile, our crime rate is going up. How about where they say our crime rate's going down? We just had 117 people shot. You could take just Chicago and the whole nation's crime rate. Look, these are bad people. They're phony people. They're liars. They cheat on elections. They do a lot of bad things. And we have to win this election because crime statistics are a disaster. They're made up by people that work in the White House. And obviously the crime is getting worse because we have probably 20 million people in our country right now. And every single day you read about one of these horrible monsters from parts unknown who raped a young girl, killed her, cut him up, uses knives, not guns, because it's a slower death. These are monsters, and we have them in our country, and we're going to deport them at a level like nobody's ever seen. We're going to get them the hell out of our country. They're going back to the country from which they came. Because we have become a dumping ground for the world, and we're not going to take it anymore. We're going to get rid of these liberal lunatics like Kamala. Just yesterday, it was reported that more than 1,000 members of the savage Venezuelan gang, Trendy Arguay, are plotting to conduct ambush attacks on police and law enforcement in the United States. All the while, Harris and Biden sit in the White House and try and figure out who's dumber. They sit in the White House. Think of it. Massive numbers of Venezuelan gang members. Now, Venezuela is very smart. They sent them into our country. And then you read that crime is down 72% in Venezuela, which it is. On Sunday, in a separate incident, a Venezuelan illegal alien criminal let in the border by our border czar, Harris, shot a female police officer in Texas. You read about it. Multiple times with a rifle. Thankfully, the officer is perhaps going to survive. They don't know yet, but probably. But most victims are not so lucky. In Texas last month, 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari was tied up, sexually assaulted, and strangled to death by two illegal aliens who Biden and Harris released into the United States. If Border Czar Harris stays in charge, every single week will bring never-ending streams of illegal alien rapists, bloodthirsty killers, and child predators to go after our sons and our daughters and our wives and our husbands. They're letting horrible people into our country. They're poisoning our country. By contrast, if I am elected on day one, we will begin the largest deportation operation in American history. And we will immediately deport all of the criminals that Border Czar Harris has allowed to enter our country. They'll be deported. But no comparison of our immigration records would be complete without considering the terrorists that this crazy border czar of ours is letting into America. By the way, can anybody imagine her as, in all fairness, we want to be politically correct and all that, great, who cares? Can anybody imagine her dealing with President Xi of China, who's a fierce individual? fierce person. You know, she was sent to deal with Putin to keep him from invading Ukraine, which, by the way, he would have never done if I were president. Israel wouldn't have been attacked. He would not have attacked Ukraine. The recent hits on Israel wouldn't have taken place. We wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had that horrible disaster in Afghanistan. None of these things would have happened, would be respected. Again, now we're laughed at. All over the world, they're laughing at us. When I was president, terror watch list encounters at the border reached 1 year, and I don't believe it. It was done by Border Patrol and ICE. They have 1 year where it was 0. They said, and I don't even believe that myself, but you know what? I'll take it. Because the charts are usually the other way. 0. And then after, and it was part of that we just looked at, but we had 0 terrorists reported coming in 2019, I believe the year was 2019. 0. So let's say it was 10 or 20. Now it's thousands of people coming in. I never believed the 0, but I'll tell you, we'll take it. But assuming it was 10, 15, 20, thousands and thousands of terrorists are pouring into our country. Under Kamala Harris, thousands of terrorists have been let right in. And according to news reports, the Biden-Harris administration has absolutely no idea who they are or where the hell they come from. Just come on into our country. But you're going to be finding this out. You're going to have to be, you're going to have a migrant crime statistic that's going to rival anything that we've ever had. And the only thing good about these people, they're very tough people. They come out of those jails and those prisons and those mental institutions. The only thing that is really good about them is they make our criminals look like very nice people. It's true. Our criminals that we used to fear, we don't fear anymore, doctor. They're like nice people compared to the people that are coming into our country. No candidate who would knowingly keep the border open as terrorists pour across it can ever be trusted to be commander-in-chief. You can't do it. Can't let it happen. If she becomes your president, and I think worse than Biden, and he's gone, he's shot. But if she becomes your president, our country is finished, I'll tell you. And Pennsylvania, your beautiful Commonwealth, it's always good when you remember it's a Commonwealth. He would call it a state often. Remember when Biden I used to love this guy, because you were on pins and needles watching him speak. You know, when's he going to blow it? And it would always happen. Remember, he'd finished the speech and he couldn't find the stair. Go. And then these handsome men would run up and grab him and help him. And every time I imitate it, the First Lady tells me, why do you keep doing that? Because they keep saying you can't find the stairs off the podium. You know, you've only got about 9 stairways off the podium. But unlike Kamala Harris, I will keep radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country. We're going to keep them out. We're going to be safe. We're going to have a safe place. Fact is, 4 years ago, we were respected like never before. I would say like never before. We were respected by China, by Iran. Look at Iran. Iran is going wild now, aren't they? You know, Iran was broke when I was president. They didn't have money to give to Hamas. They didn't have money to give to Hezbollah. You see what's going on now with Hezbollah now. You're going to end up in a world war. You're going to end up in a third world war pretty soon with this guy between Ukraine and Russia and the stupidity with what I will get that negotiated and ended before I ever take office. I'll do it after the election as president-elect. In addition to her atrocious record on border security, Kamala Harris would also obliterate Pennsylvania's economy. You know about that. She's against fracking. She's against oil drilling. She wants everybody to have one electric car and share it with the neighbors. Harris has stated repeatedly that she supports, quote, banning fracking. I ban fracking. I will ban it on my first day. Now she's denying it. Remember, a politician always goes back to what their original thought was, right? And she co-sponsored the $100 trillion Green New scam designed to abolish the oil, coal, and natural gas industries entirely. We have more liquid gold under our feet than Saudi Arabia, than Russia by far. And under me, we took it from 4th place and 3rd place. We took it to 1st place by a lot. We were energy independent, soon to be energy dominant. We were going to make so much money. We were going to pay off debt and reduce your taxes still further. Now, you can't do anything with these lunatics. Under a Harris presidency, 423,000 Pennsylvania jobs are linked to fracking. They'd all be demolished. She's against fracking. She's not going to allow you to frack. She's not going to allow you to frack. And the only reason they're allowing it now, you know, they cut it way back. That's what caused the inflation. And then he opened it up again back to the Trump days. He opened it up to the same because it's similar, because he wanted to try and get reelected. They didn't know his party was going to overthrow him. It was a coup. This was a coup of a president. He will be famous. He will be more famous for the coup than the bad job he's done, okay? But this was a coup of the President of the United States. This was like a South American, you know, you read about South America, every week they have a coup. And they also do the attacks on political opponents, by the way. Your economy would take a $41 billion hit. This is Pennsylvania. Gutting billions of dollars from your state and local budgets, slashing funding for your schools and police forces, and plunging Pennsylvania into severe economic depression. Enjoy it. Look, if they get in, your state is screwed. Your state is, you guys are screwed. Good luck, everybody. Have fun in Congress, Mike. But I will never let that happen. But you don't need to take my word for it alone. Kamala's anti-American energy crusade. Let's just listen to her. Now, she's a totally, oh, no, I love fracking. Let's just see what her video says. She had it taped just a little while ago. Let's go.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Okay. If I said that, nobody would believe it. So, and that's where she is. She's a radical left person who destroyed San Francisco, and she'll destroy the country just like she did California and San Francisco. She was the leader of that pack that destroyed San Francisco. It's not only Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, he's another beauty. Oh, we're doing great in the state. Everyone's leaving. We're doing great. The state's doing wonderfully. They do have wonderful weather, and it's a beautiful place, but it's overridden with crime. He's doing such a terrible job. He's a con man. You know, I watched him on the great Sean Hannity show, and he was saying like, no, the state's never done better, never done. It's all a fake. It's all lies. The state is a disaster. They're moving to Texas, Florida, Tennessee. They're moving to a lot of North Carolina, South Carolina. When we win this November, we will end the Biden-Harris war on American energy, and we will end their terrible war on fracking. Fracking is incredible. The money you make in Pennsylvania, you could quadruple your taxes. If you lost that industry, you could quadruple your taxes. The policy of the Trump administration will be to drill, baby, drill. Right? Right? I will also terminate the Biden-Harris electric vehicle mandate on day one and save the U.S. auto industry from destruction. We are going to rebuild our auto industry, and the United Auto Workers are mostly going to vote for me, but, you know, they have a head of the United Auto Workers who's a fool. He's giving our auto industry to China by allowing this electric mandate to even be thought of. And again, I'm all for electric cars. There's a certain little section that wants to have electric. I can understand that, but it's a small section. They want to have gasoline-powered cars. They want to have hybrids, and they're going to have that. They don't want to stop every 15 minutes. They refuse to stop. You know, I have a friend of mine got an electric car, and he was used to driving from Kentucky, great state, to Washington, and he'd drive, and, you know, he'd drive it. That would be it. Now he's driving it. He had to stop 6 times. He said, what the hell is going on? He thought it was good for the environment. It's not good for, you know, he's an idealistic kind of guy. I think I'm going to do something good for the environment. He got rid of that thing so fast, your head would spin. And it's great if you want to go to the candy store and back. Then you plug it in your garage. It's no wonder the Democrat Party and their thugs are so desperate to stop us. They know that we are the only ones who can stop them, the only ones. You know, this is a movement, Make America Great Again. This is a movement the likes of which no country but our country has never seen before. MAGA. MAGA! No country's ever seen anything like it. Remember when Biden would get up, we will stop MAGA. He had no idea. I said, Joe, do you know what it means? No, not really. No, it means make America great again. We don't want to stop it. All of their persecution is only happening because I am running for president and leading big in the polls. Oh, if I wasn't, I wouldn't have any of these lawsuits. Oh, they wouldn't be suing me because I'm breaking their ass also. They wouldn't be suing me. They're doing this because I'm running and I'm leading by a lot. We're leading by a lot in this state, by the way, in this Commonwealth. We're leading by a lot in our Commonwealth. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election in 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election of 2024. We're not going to allow it to happen. And every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. Thank you very much. Because I'm being indicted for you. Did you like my mugshot? Did you like the mugshot? Lovely. My father's looking down, my mother and father, they're looking down because they're definitely in heaven. They made heaven. They're great. They're looking down. They said, I can't believe my son took a mugshot. This is unbelievable. But it's the #1 selling mugshot in history. It beat Elvis, and it beat Frank Sinatra. Did you know that? Frank Sinatra had a big one. Did you know he got arrested for something? And I think Elvis had a fight at a gas station or something. But Elvis was one, Frank Sinatra was two, and I'm proud to admit, and I'm proud to tell you that you have made mine bigger than both of them by a lot. It's the biggest selling mugshot ever. And I still haven't figured out whether or not I'm happy about it. I'm not sure. In one way, I'm thrilled. In another way, I'm not sure I like it. Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom, which is true. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they are not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will continue to stand in their way. I will always be here. I'll be here. I don't know. I'm getting tired of protecting you, but I love it. We're going to protect you. We're going to go. And soon you won't need protection because soon you're going to have a great country again. It's true. You won't need protection. The country will protect you. But think of it. I say this to... I got indicted more than Al Capone, the great Al Capone. Can you imagine? Al Capone, Scarface, the meanest man you've ever met. I have him beat. But we're pleased to be joined today by some fantastic Pennsylvania patriots, friends of mine, incredible people, starting with the next U.S. Senator from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, David McCormick. He's incredible. Come up. David, come up here. Come. He's a military hero. And honestly, you know, your senator, I don't think I ever met him in 4 years. Nobody knows who he is. It's the weirdest thing. It's almost like, how do they keep getting elected? You got to elect this guy. He's a war hero. He's a national hero. He's a brilliant man. He went out, he made a fortune and all that stuff. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. It means he's smart, right? Do we agree? It means he's smart. You guys didn't make that much, but you're very smart anyway. But David has been a friend of mine. He's an incredible man and respected all over the place. And you know, you have one chance to get a guy like this in. A lot of people, after watching my experience, they're not doing this anymore, are they? So I'd like to introduce Dave McCormick, a great guy. Hopefully he's going to be your next senator. You're going to win, and you're going to win big, David.
Thank you. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you so much, all of you. And listen, in Pennsylvania, We know, Mr. President, this is the most important election of our lifetime. We know it. And we also know that this is ground zero, which is going to put you back in the White House and a majority in the Senate. Right here, sir. Right here in Pennsylvania. And I want to welcome you back to Pennsylvania after Butler. We're so glad you're here, sir. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I want to say what you all know, which is this is an incredibly important choice because we can continue to have the failed, horrible policies of Biden, Harris, and Casey. And I say Casey because he votes 98% of the time. That destroys our economy, open borders, the fentanyl crisis, crime, the war on fossil fuels. But it only gets worse. It only gets worse under Harris, Casey. It only gets worse. And that is why we need strong leadership, common sense leadership. And when I go on the campaign trail, Mr. President, the thing I hear that people want most is strength. And I tell them, listen, I'm a combat veteran. I'm an Army wrestler. And when I was standing there in Butler and saw those bullets flying, and I've seen people get shot at before, and you came up and put that fist in the air and said, fight, fight, fight. I said to everybody, that's strength. That's what we need for America. That's why we're going to win on November 5th. God bless this Commonwealth.
Wow. That's great. You know, David, it is true. David was in Butler, and he was sitting exactly there. And you know, Corey was sitting right behind him. Can you imagine? Corey was killed. He was sitting right behind David. And David didn't flinch. He didn't move. I mean, some people moved. Actually, I think it was really known that when bullets are fired in a stadium, everyone really gets moving fast. They call it a stampede. Nobody moved. You looked at the people behind me, right? Everyone's seen those people. Those people have become legendary. That was just a small group. The main tens of thousands of people around here, you couldn't even see the end. Nobody ran. Nobody moved. They knew I was in trouble. They said, he's in trouble. If you went to a soccer stadium where you'll have a bullet go off, one bullet, the whole place runs for the exits. Nobody ran. And how about the man behind me with the black outfit and the green floppy hat? He's like this. David, did you see him? He's right there. He's standing. He's looking, right? Where? Get up here. Is that him? Yeah, that's... Wow. That's great, huh? Well, you can be in a foxhole with me anytime, man. Wow. Thank you. That's great. That was a hell of a day, huh? But there were a number of them back there that were just brave. Everybody. There was nobody that fled. I think nobody fled, right? They were brave people, and they were looking, and they were pointing. They saw it. They were pointing. It was incredible. And one of these crowd control people that came in afterwards said they've never seen it where bullets are fired. And I'll tell you something. David was standing and sitting right, literally, the bullets were going over your head. They were going over my head, too, the second group. But you weren't a flincher either, were you? You weren't. And Corey, right alongside of you, right behind him. And you got to vote for this man. He's a hero, and he's a great gentleman. He'll be a great senator. And it's time for a change. Time for a change. I mean that. A vote for Dave McCormick is a vote to seal our border, stop migrant crime, defeat inflation, bring down prices, and defend Pennsylvania energy. You have to defend your energy. They will not allow fracking. If they got in, her first move will be to end fracking all throughout the United States. Dave is running against truly not a good member. I don't like to be disrespectful. He's been there a long time, but Bob Casey is a stiff. He's a stiff. Nobody knows who the hell he is. I don't think I've ever gone to a meeting where he's been in the meeting, Mike. Mike has been in the meeting. Dan has been in the meeting. Scott is at too many meetings, right? No, I don't think I've ever been to a meeting where Casey's even been there. And I've been to a lot of meetings with a lot of senators, but, you know, he just sort of goes along year after year. His father was there, he's there. We want to have a great warrior. Dave, good luck. Good luck. Thank you, Dave. Vote for him. We're pleased to be joined today by some really fantastic people, some, I would say, truly great warriors. And if you could, maybe Congress people, just stand up, right? Just stand up. Scott Perry, Mike Kelly, G.T. Thompson, G.T., hi, Dan Muser, Lord Smucker. These are unbelievable warriors. These are great fighters. And if you can add David, it's going to be an unbeatable combination. Pennsylvania Treasurer, thank you very much, fellas. You've done a great job. You've done a great job. Pennsylvania Treasurer Stacey Garrity. Lancaster County Commissioner Josh Parsons. Great job, Josh. Jim Worthington, who's a fantastic man. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Nice to see you. And two people that are amazing, very talented, very incredible people. One is a spokesman for the lawyer, by the way, but a great spokesman, truly committed to make America great, and me, but truly committed to make America great, which is more important than me, more important. I mean, it's just something special. She has been an incredible person going around and letting people know how important our country is, how we love our country. Alina Habba. Alina, stand up, Alina. I didn't know she was going to be here today. And another person, one of the most talented writers, a person who truly has the pulse of this area, Pennsylvania, and the Rust Belt in general. The Rust Belt is her territory. Nobody covers it better. Selena Zito. Selena, where are you, Selena? Where are you? Thank you. She's a great writer. We're also joined by Tiffany Hall, a single mother of four from Columbia, Pennsylvania, who wants to tell us firsthand what the Biden-Harris inflation nightmare has done to her family. It's destroyed her family. Tiffany, please come up, please. Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. This is happening all over America because of inflation, by the way. Thanks, Tiffany. Thank you, darling. Go have fun. Oh, that's okay. Go, you go.
Thank you very much. So, gas prices are just astronomical. Being able to afford anything for my children anymore, like sports, is just kind of out of the question now. When President Trump was in, I could do these things with them. Since then, I've not been able to. I can't put them into sports. I can't go on extravagant vacations anymore. We can go to free parks around here. I miss it. I miss when we didn't have to pull out of our pockets for things. I'm hoping we can get back to a point where I'm financially stable. You will. And others, I know I can't be the only one. We're all going to the gas pump and be like, man, here goes the last of what I have. I know. I would like to be able to go into a grocery store again and not have to put something back or say, nope, we can't do a nice cake from the bakery. We have to try and do one from home. So I really hope and pray that we can make America great again and get you back in office. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Tiffany. So cute. You know, she said, oh, I can't believe it. I left my notes down on her seat. I said, just go and wing it. And she did better. You did better than if you had your notes, Tiffany. I have to be honest. That's great. You did better. Thank you. Appreciate it. Things like that happen. I said, well, give it a shot. She did better. Starting on day one of the Trump administration, we will end inflation and we will make America great again. We will deliver regulation cuts, energy price cuts, interest rate cuts, and we will drive prices down, and we'll drive them down very fast. We will pass massive tax cuts for workers, and that includes no tax on tips. To protect Pennsylvania jobs, I will revoke China's most favored nation trade status. I will pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. If China or any other country makes us pay a 100 or 200% tariff or tax, we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff or tax of 100 or 200% right back. You hurt us and we hurt you. It's an eye for an eye. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office shortly after we win the presidency, and it's we win the presidency, I mean that, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. And I am the only one that can say it. I know all the players, and they respect us, they respect me, and they used to respect our country, but no longer. I will prevent World War III. That's where we're heading. We're heading to World War III, and you see it. I will restore peace through strength. Over and over again, our enemies have watched Biden and Harris signal a lack of will, total weakness to do what's necessary to protect American people and stand up for our allies. A week ago, the Prime Minister of our closest Middle Eastern ally, Israel, came to address Congress. You saw that. Instead of sending a clear signal that the United States will never abandon an ally, a very important one, Kamala chose to politicize the moment, to grandstand, making a show of refusing to attend. You know where she was? She went to a sorority party. Can you believe it? Even though it was her duty as president of the Senate to be there, it was her duty to be there. Her Democrat allies fell in line. Chuck Schumer refused to shake the Israeli prime minister's hand. Chuck Schumer has become a Palestinian. Yes, has. Can you believe it? He's become a proud member of Hamas. Nancy Pelosi likewise denounced the speech in shameful terms. You know, 15 years ago, Israel had the strongest, most powerful lobby in this country. Now it's almost the opposite, with AOC +3 and all the people, the enemies of our country in a true sense. But they are, and the enemies, when they saw all these people abandon Israel, they took note. And I don't think it's accidental that just 4 days after Harris and Biden repudiated our Israeli allies, Iran's top terrorist group, Hezbollah, fired an Iranian missile to kill 12 innocent children at a soccer field in northern Israel. Happened right after he left. With great embarrassment, he left. The terrorists did it because they assumed they could get away with it because the United States is weak and ineffective and no longer respected. We are no longer respected. We are a failing nation. I mean, it's horrible. You don't want to say it. I wish I didn't have to say it. I wish I could say they're doing a phenomenal job. I wouldn't run. I wouldn't run. I wouldn't have to run. I would be very happy to have somebody do a phenomenal job. I wouldn't have to run. And I'd be very happy with that. I'd be proud of our country. But right now, our country is a joke. It's being laughed at all over the world. The truth is, Harris and Biden's weakness is inviting every rogue enemy worldwide to absolutely get away with murder. In my next term, we will build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our country, a dome like has never been seen before. And it will be entirely made in the USA and right here in Pennsylvania, big sections of it. And I will cut, remember this, I will cut all of the bad talk about Social Security. They're going to destroy your Social Security, but I will not cut 1 cent from Social Security or Medicare. And I kept my promise for 4 years, and I will keep it again. And seniors should not pay taxes on Social Security. And they won't. They won't. There are the people. It's up to you. No tax on Social Security. By contrast, Kamala cast a tie-breaking vote to cut Medicare. You saw this? By $237 billion in a heartless betrayal of American seniors. We're going to rebuild our cities into beacons of hope, safety, and beauty better than they have ever been before. We will take over the horribly run capital of our nation in Washington, D.C., clean it up, renovate it, fix it, rebuild it. We will again have the most beautiful capital anywhere in the world, and there will be no crime allowed. Very strong. Right now, you go there, you get mugged, you get shot. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto the lives of our children. And I will not give one penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. And I will keep men out of women's sports. How simple is that? I will fully uphold our Second Amendment, as I did for 4 years. We just got the backing of the NRA, complete and total endorsement from the NRA. We will protect innocent life, and we will restore free speech to our country again. And very importantly, I will secure our elections. Our goal will be one-day voting with paper ballots, proof of citizenship, voter ID. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. A lot of other countries are doing it. The mail-in voting isn't working. It's corrupt. But until then, Republicans must win. We want to have a landslide because the best way to protect against the rigging, and these people know it, is too big to rig. There's a level at which they can't cheat. So if you want to save America, get your friends, get your family, get everyone you know, and vote. Vote early, vote absentee, vote on Election Day. I don't care when you vote, but whatever you do, you have to vote, and make sure your ballot counts. Because these people cheat. They cheat like dogs. And if you want to help us ensure election integrity, sign up at protectthevote.com. Protectthevote.com. And in conclusion, from Easton to Hershey, from Jamestown to Allentown, and from Pittsburgh to right here in beautiful Harrisburg. Love Harrisburg. We got a lot of votes in Harrisburg. We stand on the shoulders of American legends who poured out their blood, sweat, and tears for our rights and for our freedom. Pennsylvania is where our founding fathers declared American independence. Think of that. Think of the history that this great, great place is. Beautiful Pennsylvania. Think of the history that you have. It's where the Army weathered its brutal winter at Valley Forge, where General George Washington would never taken his name off any buildings they'd. But it will happen under her. George Washington led his men on a daring mission across the Delaware, and where the Union was saved by the immortal heroes at Gettysburg. Gettysburg, wow. Gettysburg. And this is the state where generations of tough, strong Pennsylvania miners and steelworkers forged the greatest nation in the history of the world. But now we are a nation in serious decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, lost its willpower, and lost its strength. We are a nation that has lost, quite simply, its way. But we are not going to allow this horror to continue. Less than 4 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. Soon be. With our leadership, every disaster Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have created can be fixed, and be quick, very quickly. We're going to do it so quickly. Remember, I used to tell the story, we're going to win, 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 right? We're going to win so much, you're going to get tired of winning. We're going to win. We're going to start winning. Please, please, Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're going to win, win, win. Every problem can be solved and every wrong can be rectified. By this time next year, America's borders will be strong, sealed, and secure. Inflation will be a full thing of the past. It will be in full retreat. Our economy will be roaring back. Optimism will be surging. The American dream will be thriving again for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. Law and justice will reign all throughout our land. Freedom will be restored. The flame of liberty will be burning bright. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the worst administration in the history of our country, will be a fading memory of the past, and our great silent majority, including the once forgotten men and women of our country, will be the one shaping America's magnificent future when I am the 47th President of the United States. Because we are all Americans, and together we will show November 5th to be the most important day in the history of our country. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together we will make America powerful again. Make America wealthy again. Make America strong again. Make America proud again. Make America safe again. Make America free again. And we will make America great again. Thank you,
Thanks for joining us. You can see we just took that down. President Trump officially ending that speech an hour and a half after taking to the podium. Our team is on the ground, several of our team members inside and outside of the Farm Show complex. 8,500 people pack the New Holland Arena tonight. In fact, some we talked to say once they got up, they lost their seats. That's how jammed it was, and they had to leave. You saw there the former president even bringing up a woman from Colombia, sharing her personal story tonight of struggle, coming to tears at one point, saying that she can't afford to do the things that she used to do, and that is why she's going to be voting for former President Donald Trump. That said, we, of course, will have continuing coverage online throughout the night at CBS21.com. Of course, join us at 10 and 11. One thing I will say is as our team was spread out, we've been covering all the angles. Security very tight there tonight. In fact, we were at HIA earlier today, told to leave that space as the former president's Trump Air Force or Trump Force One pulled onto that lot. But we did catch that video, as well as the motorcade. We had so many different routes near the Farm Show complex blocked off tonight for that motorcade. So security, yes, very tight. People that needed to leave once they were in for any reason were not allowed back in. We're talking thousands of people. Some waiting from the early morning hours on all the way until the doors opened. And that brought us to another topic that we talked about tonight, which was safety. Heat exhaustion for many of these people. Upwards of 40 people were treated by EMS crews, several that were actually on the ground there. We want to go to Maxine Rose right now. She is covering that angle tonight. And Maxine, because of security being so tight and you had the heat element, for people that you spoke to, that was a big concern. And tell us about that.
Yeah, exactly, Jasmine. I spoke to someone who said they were a little bit frustrated because they weren't able to bring in a water bottle and they weren't able to have maybe an inhaler on them to help them with the heat. So they were waiting in those lines for hours, and they were waiting to come in to this space here where there was vendors set up here with water bottles to sell and food, lemonade, other things like that to help people. But still, a lot of people were struggling to handle this kind of heat, which is why these spaces here were set up by, you can see, medical professionals here to help people, give them the attention they needed. We know that tonight more than 40 people had some medical attention tonight for those heat-related issues. We also know that other people were hospitalized, and we're working to find out how many people were hospitalized and what happened also inside the farm show complex. We know that it was a very packed space. We know that there was a lot of people there, and so we are waiting to hear a little bit more from EMS about how they were handling that situation, and also how people really tried to stay hydrated as best as they could today. Jasmine?
Maxine Rose, thank you. We look forward to your reporting at 10 and 11 o'clock as well. Okay, so the temperatures, we're talking low 90s today, but feels like temperatures, we're talking mid 90s, maybe higher. We have Ed Russo here now to talk more about the temperatures and how it affected people waiting in line for hours.
Yeah, so that was a big issue this afternoon, obviously, because you got to remember, 90s, not a huge deal as we go through the summer months, but...
Come on over here.
Yep, I'm going to send it back to Jasmine.
Yeah, all right, Ed, you get a new mic, new batteries, because we've been on literally for, I don't know, 4+ hours here. So that said, who's ready to go? Okay, again, we have Jake Sarwar from our sister station out in Wilkes-Barre. He joins us now. He's been on the ground outside, focusing on the Democratic response. And of course, you can see the traffic too, where you're from.
Yeah, Jasmine, absolutely. Now, the one thing you were saying, of course, is the Democratic response. When I talked to a member of the State House earlier today, she said no matter what, she is voting for Vice President Kamala Harris, and her biggest reason is for reproductive and women's rights. She's afraid not just for herself, but also for her family, her son's children possibly one day, and having the same rights that she had when she was growing up, and she wants to see that to be able to continue, because under President Trump, when Roe versus Wade was overturned, that's what a lot of Democrats earlier today were also telling me as well. We also heard from the labor unions earlier too, who say that they don't support the former president, that they felt like he kind of left them and lost over 200,000 jobs during his first term. So really, a lot of the people we've been speaking to, again, from this Democratic side, aren't really a fan of President Trump and are looking to support Vice President Harris. And I know you were saying too, we do see some of the traffic right now. Right outside, we're on the McClay Street side of the farm show complex. I can see some of the state police, maybe some of the Secret Service kind of lining up. They are looking like they're blocking the roads again, but we have not seen that big motorcade of the ambulances and all of the motorcycles and of course his Suburbans come on by yet. But we know that the former president will be leaving the farm show arena in just a few minutes. For now though, back to you, Jasmine.
Jake Sarwar, thanks so much. And we are working on getting traffic cameras out for you so you can actually see what's going on. Clearly avoid that area as thousands of people are coming out of the farm show complex. But we want to take you into the New Holland Arena. Joel D. Smith standing there. Joel D., we talked to several people live tonight who were at the Butler rally when former President Trump was there and that attempted assassination. And he did talk about that tonight.
He said he was only going to talk about this once. Well, he talked about it tonight in detail, and I think it was because so many people were there and then it decided to come back here. He talked about how close it was that he got for him to be shot. He went to the play-by-play, how he was turned this way, and if he had turned the other way, it wouldn't have worked out so well for him. He thanked so many people. He had a moment of silence for the person who did lose their life there. And it really was emotional at times for him to get so specific about that. But that was just one part of this, but really an important part when you consider it's his first time back at a rally in Pennsylvania since that happened, Jasmine.
I just got a comment really quick. I'm looking behind you. The people came in, slowly, but fast got out like it's empty. How did they get out so quickly?
Well, I will say about 20% left before the end. This was a long day. They were here. Some of them came in by 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, so they had been here for a long time. Waited a full hour before the president started talking and then had a 90-minute speech. So, they got to a certain point. Some people did leave. And then once, this thing ended, like any big event, you get out of here when you can. There's a lot of ways to go. So that's why that one cleared.
Yeah, let's talk about that 90-minute speech. So, first and foremost, a lot of talk about Biden-Harris. What can you highlight there?
Well, I wouldn't want to be a fact checker today. Threw out a lot of information that wasn't accurate, saying things like, if you get an electric car, it'll only go 15 minutes, and then you got to check it again. And, a President Harris would come and confiscate your guns at your doorstep. So, that is hyperbole, but it does get the point across as to some of the ideas that are out there from a Harris campaign. But he got the most applause when he said a lot of things that she talks about are fake, fake, fake. He's about fight, fight, fight. They love that. He did criticize how she got into this spot, saying that it was a coup, how they got rid of Joe Biden and put her in without her receiving any primary votes. And then finally, this was the big moment. A lot of people have been talking about this. She talked about this yesterday, saying, if you have something to say it to my face. Let's debate. Today he said, let's debate. We're going to do it. So we don't have the details on that yet, but it is the most complete and direct answer we've had so far on whether there will be a debate between Harris and Trump. Looks like it will happen.
One of the things he said off the top is he does not need a star at his rally, referring to Megan Thee Stallion going to Harris's campaign rally recently. But some would argue, perhaps, Mark Singal, our political insider, that he does have that star factor of his own.
Well, that's certainly something that he would enjoy hearing. He likes to think about himself as the star. He likes to think about himself as a star in a show. He views this stuff as a show. He really likes the production quality of stuff like that. He thinks about those things a lot. But he did do a nice job of saying that the real stars here were the people that did so well, that reacted so well after that attempted assassination. He highlighted some people. He talked about the politicians that were there. In particular, running for Senate, Dave McCormick on the Republican side, and how he is a combat veteran and didn't bat an eye after those shots were fired. So, he does a nice job of involving everybody when it comes to that. Would he mind if he got some star endorsements? I'm sure he wouldn't. He's had those in the past, but for today, this was about Pennsylvanians. It really was. He was specific to say it's a Commonwealth. I know it's a Commonwealth. It's not a state, and he's going to be here a lot because we know we're a swing state and it's important. And however many people you can convince to vote or motivate them to vote, everyone might count. And this might be one of the closest elections we ever see. And Pennsylvania is going to be a big, big part of whoever wins.
And not just that, but, you're in an arena now that holds 8,500 people. He says that some were turned away today because of the max capacity. He plans on going back to Butler, where he says you can fit even more people because it's out in the open. Did he get a big response when he said that he's going back?
He did, and it's probably less about where he's going than his attitude. I think one of the big attractions, if you're a Donald Trump fan, is his style, his strength, his confidence. And he displayed that, whether you like him or not, immediately after he was shot. He had the blood going down his face. He had his fist up in the air, and he was defiant. That is the kind of leader a lot of people are looking for. A lot of Republican leaders are looking for. So they love that. And showing that bravado that I'm going right back to where this happened, and we're going to make it even bigger and better is exactly what these people are listening for when they talk about the kind of leadership that they want. Do they want policies that work for their lives as well? Yes. Do they want to win? Certainly. But that kind of leadership is very attractive to a lot of folks, and certainly the people that are here.
Joel D. Smith, I know you have a lot of work to do for the 10 o'clock newscast, and we look forward to your report at 10 and 11. Thank you so much. All right. Where are we going next on our digital newscast here? All right, let's go back to the heat element. Ed Russo standing by now. Ed, what was the temperature today, but what was also the feel-like temperature adding to all of this heat exhaustion people were feeling?
Yeah, so Jasmine, temperatures were in the low 90s this afternoon, but it felt like it was middle to upper 90s much of the day. And really, when you had the max congestion, you know, people shoulder to shoulder outside waiting to get into the farm show complex, that's when it was the worst in terms of the heat. Now, fortunately, temperatures have come down, and that's good news because everyone is starting to head back to the parking lots and leaving, and there's probably going to be people that are going to be outside for a while because I'm sure it's going to be very congested. If we can actually go to the traffic camera, we can show you what it looks like at the corner of Elmerton and Cameron. So it still looks like we still have those road closures in place. So you also saw a lot of people leaving the New Holland Arena. So it's only a matter of time before we start to see a lot of those roads start to pick back up again in terms of traffic. And Jasmine, you can see right there appears to be some police officers moving down the street, perhaps his motorcade leaving. And then once his motorcade is out of there, heading back to the airport, that's when we're most likely going to see these roads open back up. But remember, for the time being, as it stands now, Maclay Street between Cameron and 7th is closed. Arsenal Boulevard at Cameron Street is closed. Cameron Street between Maclay Street, Arsenal, and all the way up to I-81 closed. And then, of course, Industrial Road at Hack Drive, Harrisburg Area Community College Drive. So still seeing some police cars whizzing by on our cam there at the corner of Elmerton and Cameron. Probably still waiting for Trump's motorcade to leave. And once that happens, everyone's going to be filing out of there. And I imagine it's going to be very, very congested.
I have to tell you, the first thing I see on there is people walking on the side of the road. So let's be careful out there because it is going to be jam-packed on that highway in just a matter of minutes. So people walking, hopefully they'll be careful there. Okay, I'm Jasmine Brooks. I will see you at 10 and 11 on CBS 21. Thank you for watching our digital newscast. Good night.